Part 303. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3034. In this way, Jia Yan was rushed to a large hospital not far from the battlefield. This hospital is also located within a giant tree, but the hole in the tree is not just one, but some strong people used great strength to forcefully gather 5 giant trees. After gathering them together, the hospital has a lot of space. Quickly, everyone get out of the way, emergency patients. Jia Yan was pushed into the hospital, and countless eyes fell on him. If he hadn't pretended to be injured now, Jia Yan might not have been able to withstand the embarrassing atmosphere and just turned over and left. In other words, dig a hole and bury yourself. He was muttering that he was a bit stupid. Why did he insist on using his true identity and real name to act? If he had a pseudonym or a different face, maybe he wouldn't be as embarrassed as he is now. Is Dr. Moy here? There is a patient here, and Dr. Moy must be dispatched personally. What? He's not free? No, this time it's a territory lord level senior who was injured on the front line of our army. Dr. Mosquito can't chill the hearts of the soldiers. It has to be said that this is a huge burden for the injured troops. Dr. Mosquito probably had a very high status, but after hearing this and knowing that Jia Yan was a territory lord, he immediately understood the urgency of the situation, and soon put aside everything and came to the hospital. Main entrance. Send it to me. The other party was a creature that looked like a weasel. He looked at Jia Yan, his face changed several times, and then he gave blunt instructions. At this time, Jia Yan no longer pretended to be anything but said nothing. Having achieved the situation he expected, he naturally doesn't need to pretend anymore. Even if his lie is exposed and the person is arrested at worst, there must be no strong person in this area who can stop his actions. After all, both sides say that there is a true power, but the true power may not necessarily be on a certain front line. This place is so peaceful, and the true power will never show up. Even if he appears, Jia Yan is closer to Mosquito, and if he takes him away from the subspace, there is nothing the other party can do to him. Thinking of this, Jia Yan smiled slightly. Weasel, no matter how unwilling you are to receive outsiders, aren't you going to work for me soon? Jia Yan smiled, and most of his embarrassment was relieved. Until he was sent to a ward. Senior, please stop joking with this junior. There was no one around, so Mosquito gave a wry smile and respectfully clasped his fists with his 2 paws. Huh. Jia Yan, who was on the hospital bed, marveled and got up from the bed without any surprise. The huge mosquito body looked directly at the weasel-like doctor creature. You can see through this. Could it be that my performance was not good? Yes, you are that Dr. Mosquito, tell me how you saw through me. Jia Yan asked with interest. It's not that he's afraid of anything, it's just out of interest. He's not good at hiding his injuries, but even so, an ordinary domain lord shouldn't be able to tell that he's faking his injuries. I'm sorry, senior. I have studied the body for a lifetime. Although I have never seen a life like my senior, it is similar. So I can see through the blazing life of my senior at a glance. Not only is there no injury, it is even far better than anything I have ever seen. Everyone needs to be strong. Moy shook his head and said respectfully. Jia Yan laughed jokingly and continued, everyone? Is it more fierce than the true power in your force? The other party suddenly felt as if he was struck by lightning, and he waved his hand again. Senior, please stop teasing me. I wonder why Senior is looking for me. He had actually accepted a lot of uninvited guests like Jia Yan, but perhaps no one could match the strength of this wild one. Jia Yan stood up calmly, put aside all his previous thoughts, and straightened his posture as a great master. Actually, I have no choice but to do this. After all, if I want to see you, I can only do this without using force. Is this all you can do? Sneak into the hospital? Amos, yeah, a weasel, couldn't help but look at Jia Yan and thought to himself, if you, as a true powerful man, come to visit my power, I will definitely come out to greet you personally even if the true master comes to the peak today, not to mention. But think about it, this powerful person is destined to be impossible to visit with his true identity. Don't talk about the trouble, and if the other party also comes to ask for medicine, or to treat a patient, then something is controlled by your own power. Instead of doing this, it is better to find a way to get closer quietly. Of course, just like what Jia Yan had thought before, he didn't think that he would be secretly stolen by some powerful people. A top medical or scientific research being, they themselves were only part of the value, and the equipment they were familiar with, articles, and subordinate teams, etc., are actually no less important than me. In other words, if any strong person wants to take him away, even if he succeeds, his medical ability will plummet, and his entire medical life may even be scrapped. Senior, what you do is irrelevant. There is a powerful existence, and we will not make any assumptions, let alone have any dissatisfaction. I just want to know, what does the senior want the junior to do? Actually, it's not too difficult. I just want your help to deal with some issues related to longevity. Jia Yan smiled amiably. It's just that the other party didn't really think that Jia Yan was amiable, but just wanted something from him. In a state of silence, the other party also understood Jia Yan's request. For a moment, it felt a little weird. Are you doing genetic improvement and longevity work for many inferior races? This is a professional counterpart. This doctor may not be as good at treating patients as some other famous doctors, but when it comes to the genetic level, I do know a thing or two. When talking about his major, Moy immediately showed a confident attitude. Jia Yan was not unhappy at all, but felt slightly excited because of the other party's condition. If the other party is just a reputation seeker whose reputation is greater than his ability, he will be extremely disappointed. Now it seems that he did not hesitate to pretend to be crazy, and the person he finally found must be the right one. Well, you don't need to reveal my existence. Just take these things and go study them. I hope you understand something. I am not afraid of your power, but I don't want to end lives and cause trouble. Yes, this junior naturally knows it. The dripping eyes on Moy's weasel head were rolling, but there was more of sincerity in them. After all, he was smart and knew that the powerful man in front of him was telling the sincere truth. An existence like Jia Yan has long grown to the point where he can threaten countless forces without lying. Even though the person behind their power is supposedly a true power, the other party is also a true power. A fierce battle between true powers might easily destroy a large area. He, a small territory lord, I'm afraid that if they are affected, there will be no reason to escape. So it's better to just go with it and just waste some energy, time, or some materials than to lose your life. Besides, it's not a bad thing to befriend a powerful person. Thinking of this, Amosie's mood changed from being depressed to laughing. This guy is quite open-minded. This is probably the true way for a strong man to survive. After Jia Yan took out the materials, he quietly returned to the ward. My lord, how could you run away on your own? Well, the higher-ups will definitely blame me. After the nurse came in, she complained to Jia Yan. Haha, I'm sorry. I'm just in a bad mood. Please go out and get some fresh air. Don't do this next time. Okay, okay. Jia Yan dealt with the opponent lightly. Unexpectedly, at this night, a large number of experts from the entire army came to the hospital. A few domain lord level, a few galaxy level. They were not very familiar with Jia Yan, so they came to see his condition, not like visiting a patient, but more like coming to see the fun. After all, how strange it is to be so weak that when he participated in the battle for the first time, he was knocked down by a move of the same level, and then was seriously injured and entered the hospital. Although there have been weird cases of war in history, they thought this was the first time it happened in front of them. Brother Jiayan, don't worry about other people's opinions. Since you are not strong enough, just practice. If you can't beat the guy this time, challenge him next time. Even though you lost so miserably this time, you are just a newly promoted person. The strength is in the stage of rapid improvement, and I might be able to defeat him next time. Yes, Brother Jiayan, we are extremely optimistic about you, so there is no need to give up on yourself. Who gave up on themselves? Jiayan was very speechless, looking at the several domain lords who were talking to each other, saying that they were irritating him, but in fact it seemed that he wanted him to give up on himself, so that he would go out and brag in the future. It's a pity that it is impossible for Jiayan to give up on himself. On the other hand, if he explains his strength, maybe the comrades in front of him will be the ones who give up on themselves. Mosie's ability is definitely no worse than the ones Jiayan found earlier. So after waiting for 2 days, Jiayan saw this great medical expert again as expected. Hey, little brother Moi, how did you end up like this? It turned out that Moi's whole body was like a chicken coop, and his hair was all messy. Although it has long been known that creatures that enter the research state will become slovenly, but everyone is strong. In fact, if you pay a little attention to your own face, it is still easy to maintain a similar state. But Moi didn't care that much. Just for this reason, Jiayan looked at him differently. Senior, these are some speculations and ideas that I have researched. Of course, they are just superficial directions. I would like to seek your opinion before dealing with advanced directions. Jiayan took over the other party's information and writing ideas. After looking at it, Jiayan silently put down the materials. What do you think, senior? No, do you think I understand these professional terms? I'm sorry, let the junior explain it. The other party was embarrassed, took the information on Jiayan's feet, and began to explain to Jiayan. In fact, Jiayan has been studying relevant information in recent days. He may not be able to understand what Mosie wrote, but he can at least understand it roughly. I just said this deliberately, just to see how the other party would explain it, and whether he wanted to fool me because he didn't understand it half-heartedly. Fortunately, the other party did not have such a small thought, otherwise Jiayan might have transformed from the amiable senior he is now into a life-threatening boss. It turned out that Moi came to put forward some opinions to him. The first way is to rebuild a body for that creature whose genes seem to be perfect, but are actually full of loopholes, and whose future is ridiculous. Of course, this is not a soul-changing method, but according to my imagination. Starting from certain parts of the body that have little impact, and changing them bit by bit, eventually becoming another body with more potential and talent. Jiayan's eyes sparkled after hearing this. It didn't matter whether he would accept it or not, whether Satsuma Corner would accept it or not. It was just that this Moi made a suggestion that no one else had ever made before, and he looked at it differently. Sure enough, the shadow of a famous tree has such a great reputation. This weasel is worthy of the name of Evil Doctor. The second option is, sir, don't be angry when I tell you. Don't be angry. You can speak freely. After all, this is what I want you to come up with. When the other party heard that Jiayan didn't know biology, he breathed a sigh of relief. Actually, a lower-level domain lord already possesses the ability to change fate to a certain extent. Not only that, even domain lord level experts can create new races out of thin air, but they are relatively weak. And the laws are not complete enough, and the power of the lower level of the territory lord can do more than that. Mosie said, mentioning the words region lords backstage. Obviously he also knows what the lower level of outside domain lords means. He looked at Jiayan specifically and When he saw that Jia Yan didn't show any expression or discomfort towards him, he realized something in his heart and suddenly became even more worried. Of respect. Go on. Jia Yan looked at the weasel with a half smile. The other party was testing his strength. How could Jia Yan not know that? But to a certain extent, exposing one's strength is also a good way to find shortcuts. If he was just a senior domain master with perfect strength, the so-called fake powerful, maybe the other party would not work so hard, or even produce with bad intentions. He might join forces with the really powerful person here to snipe and trap him, Jia Yan. Now that he has revealed his strength as a lower-level powerhouse, the other party will not have such thoughts. It's like this. A late-level domain master possesses unparalleled fine control. If he is willing to combine part of his own genetic flesh and blood with some combination of secret methods, it will probably not take too long to combine it with the opponent's genes. The opponent will get part of the talents and genetic heritage of the later level powers. Although it will only be a trace, the possibility of changing the opponent's fate is still very high, but this will slightly affect the strength of the later level powers. And it will have some impact on the talent. Of course, adults do not need to choose this method. This is absolutely not advisable. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3035. Jia Yan cursed in his heart, this weasel is very evil. You obviously want to persuade yourself, but you still want to say it, and even after you say it, you want to clear the relationship. But are you wasting your own strength and talent to modify other people's talents and strength? Jia Yan thought for a moment. The feeling of heartache flashed away deep in my soul. But he remained calm on the surface. There is no way around it. Jia Yan is willing to try, but it is destined to be arranged under the premise that other methods are ineffective. Although Jia Yan gradually developed a deep affection for Satsuma and the two entered the state of being a couple, Jia Yan's true face is still the insect cultivator who crawls around at the bottom and does whatever it takes. It's okay to let him abandon some upward possibilities and save his lover. But it would definitely be done as a last resort. Otherwise, if he cuts off his path to the lower level of territory lord or above because of this, I am afraid that he will live in a lifetime of grief, anger, and trouble in the future, and his character will definitely change drastically by then. Jia Yan knows himself very well. Is there a third option? Originally, Jia Yan thought that there was no third option. I didn't expect there to be more. Tell me. Jia Yan smiled when he saw that Mos's eyes were flashing with all kinds of profound thoughts and he seemed to have random thoughts. Good guy, if I am going to be manipulated by a strange doctor like you, who is a domain lord, then I have practiced like a dog for so many years. If you tell me anything that I will take the bait, just say it. If I take the bait, I will admit that you are a powerful junior. Just when Jia Yan had such an idea, the other party told everything in words. After listening, Jia Yan suddenly felt in his heart that he couldn't laugh or cry. Then he had deep and solemn thoughts about this Mos. I underestimated everyone in the world. Okay, I understand all the 3 points you mentioned, but the first thing I came to you for was not to ask you to come up with these weird ideas, but to ask you to cooperate with genes and come up with improved drugs. Now, you came up with these 3 ideas for me to go back and continue researching. Senior, those prescriptions you took out are actually not close to reaching the extreme. Even if I can increase the effect of those prescriptions by another 10%, that is the limit, but I think Senior will not only have this. It worked, so I was bold and came up with several plans. Of course, if Senior needs me to study plans, I will go right away. I will say goodbye. After saying that, the weasel walked out of the ward. Jia Yan was left alone, lost in thought in the luxurious ward only for super strong people. A weasel is indeed a weasel. Weasels on any planet are such insidious and cunning people, huh? Jia Yan, who felt that he was being manipulated by the other party, couldn't help but snorted. However, after snorting coldly, he was helpless and gradually regained his calmness. Tisk, tisk, the third option, is actually behead another domain lord's lower level, and use the method he provided to extract the opponent's innate root bone genes, and then allocate them to the user. In this way, the effect is even better than my contribution of some of my own genes. It's dozens or hundreds of times better. It has to be said that the last point raised by MOC really struck a chord with Jia Yan. He has lived his whole life and has always plundered, or plundering, which is a bit too evil. Instead, it should be said that Jia Yan has competed with other cultivators along the way to where he is today. So Jia Yan really didn't have any resistance to what he proposed, and even suddenly felt a sense of identity. However, due to the majesty of a truly powerful being, Jia Yan did not immediately express his agreement, nor did he ask any more specific questions on this point. But deep down in his heart, he already agreed with the other party's point of view. Kill someone of the same level and provide genetic improvements to the Satsumanich, your family, and some valued people on Earth. It is not only about lifespan, but also talent and strength, which will be improved by leaps and bounds. Just this. It's hard. It's very difficult. You must know that he is a junior peer of the territory lord. No matter how much I improve in strength, there is a huge gap between me and many lower-level masters in terms of combat experience, combat skills, and even combat background. Jia Yan thought calmly. He can do it, and there will be no damage between the same levels, but this is protected by the subspace talent. To put it bluntly, Jia Yan is confident. But this kind of confidence is not based on his ability to defeat all invading enemies. It is based on the fact that he can stand up to all those of the same level. Escape. That's all. All said and done, he is still not strong enough, but this is no longer something that can be solved just by thinking about it. As for the foundation, no matter how hard he tried to improve it, it was extremely difficult. The so-called foundation is something that requires time and a lot of experience. Anyway, I'm waiting for this person to continue his research. His knowledge and experience are indeed different from other medical experts. It's not that his technology is superb, but that his ideas are not limited to saving lives and healing the wounded, but go beyond this box. At least other medical professionals won't advise me to use those three methods. Jia Yan thought that at least he had come to the right place. On the other side, the power struggle between the two sides is still continuing. Regarding the day before, Jia Yan fought against another domain lord level strongman and was defeated. He couldn't even cause trouble to the other party. This has become a tactic used by the other party to make fun of the strongmen here. That newcomer of yours, why hasn't he shown up today? You can't be seriously injured after such a slight touch, right? How incompetent your forces must be to even accept such a being. If you ask me, that thing is not domain lord level at all, it is just an existence similar to domain lord level. If you all want this, you will laugh out loud. A group of strong men on the other side began to argue again before the battle began, causing the masters on the other end to have extremely dark and ugly faces. After all, they really couldn't talk back. I really don't know how to reply in this matter. A very weak territory lord level came to his side, and he was knocked down by the opponent's strong one in one move. This matter has not only been publicized among the enemies, but has also been heard by many friendly forces. In recent contacts, some people will always laugh and joke about it, which makes the correspondents here lose face. Although Jia Yan was just a strong man he had just recruited, whether his strength would be high or low was not something they could predict. But the people who recruited him were some of the masters present, and speaking of it, this matter did have something to do with them. Gazoo! In anger, these experts started a real fierce battle with the enemy without saying a word. In this battle, several domain lords were even slightly injured. Is Jia Yan still in the hospital? Let's go visit him. Don't get excited. It's not Jia Yan's fault. Don't blame him. If this person hadn't deliberately joined our army, there would be no such humiliation. That's right, even if we don't blame him, we still need to go see him. We just need to repeat to him what the other party said today. Hearing this, the leader of this army, the senior domain master, the one who accepted Jia Yan, looked ugly. So, are you ready to drive Jia Yan away? Do you even want to drive me away? After all, I personally recruited Jia Yan. If we talk about responsibility, I should be the biggest responsible for not properly verifying his strength. Everyone fell silent for a moment. Not long after, there was another knock on Jia Yan's ward. Guys, please come in. Jia Yan knew their identities before the other party entered. Sure enough, a group of experts entered the ward with unhappy faces. Jia Yan, what are your next plans? If you don't want to go to the front line again, I will support your opinion. What's wrong? My injury hasn't healed yet. Do I need to make a decision now? Jia Yan asked in surprise. In fact, he also understood that he had embarrassed the army on the front line. It's okay to just ask him to leave, but he hasn't completed his mission yet. If Mosquito can't finish the research with peace of mind, Jia Yan will lose more than he gains. No, Jia Yan, we want you to tell us what you want to do next in the army. Let me tell you in advance, with your current strength, I'm afraid it's not suitable for you to go to the front line. First of all, your strength is not at the level of a real domain lord. Besides, you are already well known in the neighborhood. If you go to the front line, even if we don't say anything, I'm afraid that the other party will also seize on your last battle and make you lose face. Is it? Jia Yan smiled happily. He actually knew the attitude of these strong men. First of all, there should be some intention to visit him. After all, Jia Yan also fought for their power and was injured. If the other party doesn't even give him this attitude, maybe they will never receive it again. The experts are here to take action. Secondly, they are also here to put pressure on Jia Yan. After such a big loss, if this person goes to the battlefield again and continues to be embarrassed, there will be no need to fight in this war zone. From now on, he will definitely have no shame to see anyone again. Therefore, the reason why they came here is probably to drive Jia Yan to a casual job, or to want Jia Yan to retire automatically. It's ridiculous to say that this is probably the most cowardly moment for a domain lord. After taking the initiative to join an army, he was asked to retire not long after. Regardless of whether it is embarrassing or not, I am afraid that this is the first of its kind for this army. Who makes Jia Yan's disguised strength be too bad? Well, I understand what you guys mean. In fact, while I was recuperating these 2 days, I roughly reflected on my previous combat performance. I found that there were several obvious mistakes in my combat. And I don't know much about domain lord level battles. At this time, I have roughly summarized the combat experience at this level. If you have anything to say, why not wait for me to recover from my injuries and find a colleague? Can you compete with me and talk about other things? Everyone understood what Jia Yan said. It's just that everyone sneered at it. If the so-called combat strength can be summed up after a battle and then improved by leaps and bounds, how can other strong men survive? Each of them showed disbelief. Only the leader, the senior domain master, said calmly and without expression, "Okay, Jia Yan, we will give you another chance. I hope that next time, you can show a performance that will shine in our eyes." After saying this, all the powerful men filed out again. How excited I was when I recruited Jia Yan, how disappointed these guys are now. Human nature is also quite obvious in the realm of the strong. Jia Yan smiled sarcastically. He is not a person who endures humiliation. This is by no means a situation where he needs to endure the humiliation. Moy was almost ready with the research materials, he just needed to wait a few more days. So during this period, it's no problem for him to do any tricks here. The worst he can do is just pat his butt and leave. The second day. The so-called severely injured newly promoted territory lord level powerhouse has recovered from his injuries and is miraculously able to get out of bed and walk around. And in the afternoon, like the young man who had been hit and extremely unwilling, he rushed directly to the training ground of the military camp. Are you sure you want to compete with me? Yes, this battle is over. I'm just letting everyone see my strength after reflection. Jia Yan said calmly to the strong man standing opposite. At this time, many strong men in the entire training ground were watching the battle with joking eyes. One of the two parties is Jia Yan, and the other is a young territory lord who has been a territory lord for some time. The two sides seem to be at the same level, but Jia Yan's previous battle process was too unspeakable, causing everyone to dislike Jia Yan and just come to watch the joke. According to me, this Jia Yan will probably fall with just one move. Recently, some soldiers below said that this is the porcelain territory lord, and he might even be able to defeat a Galaxy Junior. That's not right. After all, you are still a territory lord. If the territory lord's territory is opened, the Galaxy level will definitely not be able to defeat it. Hey, isn't that just what you said? In short, this friend Jia Yan should be defeated without a doubt. While talking, both parties had already moved their hands. As soon as they made contact, the other person showed an expression of surprise. To know, judging from what he knew, this Jia Yan should be the kind of person who had just been promoted and then suffered a huge loss at the hands of the enemy and suffered an extremely ugly defeat. But now, Jia Yan's moves are actually different from what he imagined, and he has neutralized his own attack. I'm just giving you a little concession. I didn't expect you to be able to take this move. Let me see if you can take the next move. The other party's face became extremely ugly. Since the enemy can defeat Jia Yan with one blow, but he cannot do it, doesn't this mean that he and Jia Yan are actually about the same weakness? For him, this matter was as if his reputation had been damaged and was unacceptable. The offensive began to become extremely intense. Jia Yan, however, still acted with ease, taking his time with his moves and easily neutralizing every attack of this strong man. Suddenly, the strong men around him looked at him, and their attitude towards the lively joke became serious. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3036. Not only the domain lord level, but also several major galaxy levels, star levels, and even half-star levels, all caused great shock. Did Jia Yan actually realize some way of leveraging his own strength in such a short period of time? Could he be lying when he said he reflected on the last failure in the past few days? It's impossible. It only takes a few days. What a powerful understanding it must be. Haha, it turns out that Your Excellency Jia Yan is a real person who doesn't show his face. Everyone's attitude gradually changed. Especially the weak ones, who originally imitated the strong ones and were full of ridicule towards Jia Yan. Many guys at the beginning of the galaxy were even eager to try and see if their strength could defeat such a weakest domain lord. Create a threat. But now, they have completely shut up. Even one of the more powerful young territory lords in this army was beginning to be suppressed by the new territory lord Jia Yan. They were just a short step behind the galaxy beginners, weren't they waiting to be beaten? Puff. In the end, Jia Yan put one foot on the neck of the young strong man who was a junior domain lord. If he exerted even more force, the opponent's head would definitely fall off completely. Accepted. Jia Yan smiled and retracted his foot. I lost. The other party seemed to be unable to accept this fact, and his whole person was shaking. He didn't hold back the last few moves, but in his perception, Jia Yan seemed to slowly gain more fighting skills from the battle with himself, and began to become familiar with his strength. As a result, after fighting to the end, he was still defeated, and defeated miserably. Awesome, really awesome. The senior leader of the domain lord level clapped his hands and walked out of the spectators. His eyes roamed back and forth over Jia Yan's body. Your Excellency, the method is too superb, but I don't think that you suddenly grasp the insight. After all, it is impossible for existences at our level to believe such nonsense. I wonder, Your Excellency Jia Yan, if you still have what do you want to say. While speaking, the senior domain master had already used some power to seal off the entire surrounding space. He believed that he, a senior territory lord, could definitely make mistakes when trying to deal with an ordinary territory lord. Jia Yan's method was too abrupt for them. It was like the sun that was ordinary yesterday and suddenly grew several times bigger the next day. It was impossible and unreasonable to happen. No matter how talented Jia Yan is, he can't improve so much in a few days. Otherwise, the realm and methods of the strong men in this world will become a joke. The so-called realm is the realm that the strong men at the lower levels can only achieve if it is difficult to break through. They believe that there will be those talented masters who can kill enemies beyond their level. But I don't believe that an existence that was so weak a few days ago can transform into the strongest person at the same level after a few short days of cultivation. This is like a myth, impossible to happen. Hey! Jia Yan smiled slightly when he was threatened by the senior domain master. Actually, I wanted to understand the other party's strength earlier. It's true, but the injury is not that deep. It's true. You are making a fuss about it and blame me for something. Jia Yan showed a helpless attitude. Huh? Are we making a fuss out of a molehill? Your injuries are so serious, we can all see it. Actually, no, my race is like this. It seems that the injury is serious, but my injury is not serious at all. Of course, I was also wrong at the time. I borrowed the donkey from the slope and wanted to go to the ward to digest it. The enemy's strength is such that he is preparing to take revenge after coming back in the next few days. Jia Yan kept telling lies as soon as he opened his mouth. Racial identity. Is he really just studying the enemy's methods? I see, Master Jia Yan is not as miserable as we imagined. No, when he cried out in pain, I was one of the people who lifted him up. Well, why are you covering my mouth? Ha ha ha, in this case, we have finally found a powerful territory lord. After listening to Jia Yan's words, the senior domain master didn't believe it in his heart, but after thinking about it, he really couldn't imagine what Jia Yan's purpose was. Then, he chuckled. Very well, Your Excellency Jia Yan, since you have recovered your true strength, why not join the army tomorrow to avenge yourself? According to me, your strength just now is enough to deal with the domain master who once hurt you. It's what you wish for. Jia Yan looked overjoyed and hugged his feet. All the powerful men present looked at Jia Yan with thoughtful or fearful eyes, and then dispersed one by one. Starting today, this character who was once known as a joke has turned around 180 degrees. But he hasn't turned it over yet. After all, he just proved himself in the hands of his own people. On the second day, the entire battlefield ushered in characters that made people laugh. A huge black mosquito. The man himself was holding his head high, but both the enemy and ourselves had the urge to laugh when they looked at him. Haha, isn't this the domain lord who was knocked down by one move last time? He actually dares to come. Is he planning to make us laugh to death this time? That shouldn't be the case. He was defeated so miserably last time. Now that he's here again, are he really prepared to show off his face and fail to fight against Xing's primary class? No, no, I think he is here to be a cheerleader. On the battlefield, both the enemy and ourselves actually ignored their main strength, and instead turned their attention to the weakest domain master. Today, who is willing to be the first to go up and fight the enemy? The senior domain lord level commander of Jia Yan's front army asked calmly. I. As soon as he finished speaking, Jia Yan stepped out. I lost face last time, I want to get it back this time. Although this was just a temporary expedient for him, it was really embarrassing to lose face, and he still used the name Jia Yan. This was quite a source of discomfort for him. Given the nature of a top master, they would hardly hide anything about their character. For example, Jia Yan is unhappy now. There is no one suppressing him at the scene, and there is a high probability that there will be no backup situation in the future. If not revenge, how long will it take? That person who fought with me last time, please come out. Oh? Who am I talking about? It turns out to be the weakest domain master. A figure walked out from the opposite side. It was the junior territory lord who had fought with Jia Yan before. The opponent recently defeated Jia Yan with one move. Although everyone knew that Jia Yan was the weakest domain master, he was able to defeat him with one move and was also sought after. Therefore, the whole person's energy are in a blazing and extremely excited state. Come on, it's still us this time, I want to avenge our shame. Ha ha ha, just you? I defeated you with one move last time, I just hope you can stick to two moves this time. There was no way the other party could believe that the character who was defeated with just one hit by his hand had grown tremendously in just a few days. For a strong person at the domain lord level, there is no such thing as a person who has been separated for 3 days should be treated with admiration. Even if there are powerful treasures and the like, treasures suitable for this level cannot be mastered in a few days. Besides, it is almost difficult for the domain lord level to adapt to treasures. Countless strong people who use weapons are accustomed to using weapons, rather than using them because they are powerful, because things that they are not used to, no matter how strong they are not suitable for people of this level. Existentially, it is useless. Boom. The other party didn't want to talk to Jia Yan anymore, so he flew down head-on with a courageous attitude. Jia Yan was a little surprised. After this guy defeated his own, his strength has improved somewhat. Didn't you win with just one move? This energy makes you feel as if you have won some kind of terrifying monster. Of course, Jia Yan forgot that the other party was also a junior powerhouse. Before Jia Yan came forward, he was almost the weakest domain lord between the two armies. Just like Jia Yan's current role, he was ridiculed and looked down upon. As a result, he won a great victory, and even made him popular, and his energy and spirit would naturally change greatly. Do you want to do the same thing again? Boy, you think too much. Jia Yan shook his head and smiled in his heart. This guy was sure that Jia Yan would hit the same trick again, so he used it again. It's a pity that he is destined to fail today. Not to mention using the moves he used before, even if he were to strengthen 3 to 5 times, he still wouldn't be able to defeat today's Jia Yan with one move. If you are like a mountain, I will be like a pillar holding up the sky. Jia Yan raised his feet, tried his best to use only the primary level of domain lord strength, and stood up. The feet collided directly with the opponent's pressed attack. What? Can he block it? Is there really any way to make rapid progress? Or, is there a master from the other side who taught him how to deal with my move? Suddenly, the face of the domain lord who was pressed down from above became extremely gloomy. Resisted? Sure enough, Jia Yan was just promoted last time, and his strength has not yet reached the peak after promotion. Hey, there's something good to watch this time. The spectators on both sides were all changed for a moment, but those who belonged to Jia Yan's army were overjoyed, while the other side was thundering like thunder. Humph, the first level of territory lord is definitely not something you get into without being sure. This is normal. The guy on our side is a junior domain lord. His strength is at the bottom of the junior class. No matter how weak the opponent's junior domain lord is, he can't be defeated in one blow. There must be some unknown secret last time. The other party did not recover to full strength, or he was in a bad mood. Then, this battle still has to be fought. Don't think about the first level of regional master, we are going to. In an instant, several domain master level masters from the opponent team had joined forces to attack. The two sides are already in a state of war. In the past few decades, masters have gradually evolved into masters fighting masters. The weak fight against the weak. Except for the weak who can easily die one or two, it is almost impossible for a strong person to fight against each other and die. Under such a battle, the beginners let them fight against themselves, while others, in order to regain their face, found their old opponents to fight against. Hey, you guys forgot, I'm extra. At this moment, a first-level territory lord who was supposed to deal with the existence opposite Jia Yan was left alone. He laughed evilly and looked at the weak fighting group. It was not good for him to join the circle of domain lords and above. Even if you can really take advantage of the opponent's lack of attention and give the opponent a hard blow, it must be difficult to kill. Moreover, even if he is killed, he will receive extremely crazy rewards from the opponent. Maybe next time this battlefield will attract a senior domain lord, and even he may be sacrificed. And the best way to take advantage of it is to kill the existence under the domain lord. Those who are elementary in the galaxy and the like will not have such a big impact if they die. It is also difficult to attract the opponent's resource-deep domain master to intervene. Puff. Ah. This, you. The existence of the primary level of galaxy is only below the domain lord level. On these battlefields, they almost enjoy the same treatment as the domain lord level, and most of them are old faces. They will not die or leave for decades. Hey, what am I? The extra territory lord level pierced the chest of the enemy's first level galaxy powerhouse. You old guy, you fought with me when I was in the first level of the galaxy. I already dislike you. Now that I, the territory lord, have reached the first level, killing you is like searching for something. What can you do to me? The disemboweled Zing primary class felt that its vitality was rapidly draining away. You, just wait to be killed by our masters one by one. After saying that, this powerful man at the beginning of the galaxy, who would rather die than surrender, actually exploded from it. However, inside the giant star, the explosive power of the first-level powerhouse of the galaxy only covers the area near his body. If he gets out of the way quickly enough, it will not reach too far at all. At least the first-level strongman from the territory lord calmly left the center of the explosion, taking with him the first-level strongman from the galaxy he was fighting against. Well done. Someone praised this person. Even the senior domain lords from both parties couldn't help but look at this extra junior domain lord. Having one more top expert is so troublesome. It's not all my fault. Your Excellency Jia Yan also deserves a lot of credit. The first level territory lord laughed heartily, and stepped forward into the enemy's weak group. This is a huge change that has rarely been seen in this war zone in several years. Perhaps the enemy's bloodshed on the battlefield today is much greater. You. Why can you fight me in just a few days? I'm sorry. It was just because of my poor health before. Now I have been successfully treated by Dr. Miao Xiao and my strength has been restored. You are just a clown. How could I still be defeated by you? Jia Yan couldn't help laughing. The two sides exchanged dozens of moves, and gradually, Jia Yan suppressed the opponent. Of course, Jia Yan didn't want to be too exaggerated. Otherwise, he will win with one blow, and all ghosts will know that he is a strong man in disguise. Since he was defeated as a strong person at the elementary level of territory lord, today he would regain the lost face as a strong person at the elementary level of Territory Lord. Poof. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3037. Poof. Just when the opponent became angry and wanted to prepare some big move, Jia Yan saw the gap where the opponent's movements were too large, thrust out with his foot, and stabbed the opponent's head to the core. Marvelous. He actually killed the other party. You know, the auras of both sides are ordinary domain lords of the first level. It is difficult to determine the winner in a battle of the same level. He actually seized the moment to kill the same level. This is too fast. For other battlefields, let alone fighter planes, for other domain lords, 5 or 6 minutes is not even a warm-up. As a result, Jia Yan actually got the result, killing the first-level territory lord who was his enemy with one blow. Pity this territory lord, he thinks that after winning a victory, his life will start to be full of ambition and satisfaction. But after just a few days of excitement, it was a joke to encounter such a setback. If he knew that Jia Yan was actually a powerful man, he would definitely curse him. People are playing their own game, and you, a big guy, come here to torture the newbies. You are not a human being. But reality is no game. When you walk in the world of strong men, you have to pay attention to whether there is any top strong man who will kill you easily. Unfortunately, Jia Yan conveniently killed the domain lord. Retreat. Retreat. Puff. When Jia Yan killed the opponent, his eyes flickered, and he didn't seem to have lost too much energy, and when he rushed towards another first-level domain lord, the enemy's senior domain lord who was guarding the territory roared fiercely. After all, Jia Yan can still fight. If he doesn't retreat, I'm afraid they won't be able to retreat. This is a major event that may affect the life safety of 1 or 2 territory lords. The order he made to retreat can be said to be extremely correct. Stop chasing. At this end, they conducted a cover-up and killed all the weak enemy troops, and then announced the withdrawal of troops. Jia Yan returned to his army happily. What greeted him were looks of surprise and shock. You know, a competition is a competition, and the impact Jia Yan brought to them in the competition is really not as eye-catching as today's actual performance. After all, these are the results of a domain lord level. Even a senior domain lord level cannot easily obtain them. Jia Yan, you did a good job. We underestimated your strength before. Ha ha ha, brother Jia Yan, don't blame us for what we said before. After all, we are an army. We are an existence without strength. It is difficult to be respected here. Jia Yan smiled slightly when he heard this and asked, what about now, have I won the respect of all the brothers? Certainly. That's for sure. Killing the same level, and in such a short period of time, we ask ourselves that we can't do it. I said a few days ago that brother Jia Yan is not like ordinary people. As expected, today he became a blockbuster. I am afraid that brother Jia Yan was not born into an ordinary force. Haha, it is because of the extraordinary cultivation of forces that it is possible to produce such a powerful junior domain lord. Everyone praised Jia Yan again. What they said is correct, or in other words, they made up their own minds in a very rational direction. It is a normal idea to say that Jia Yan comes from a big power. Otherwise, what can you do to easily kill a domain lord level person who is just a casual cultivator? Most of those who can kill people of the same level in such a short time either have a big force and have countless strong people to train you, or they have a being who is stronger than the ordinary domain lord as a master and guides you every day. Fighting skills. Otherwise don't even think about it. Jia Yan didn't deny it either. Just let them think this way. After all, as a late-level territory lord, he is always embarrassed to say, I am actually a late-level territory lord, and I am here to abuse the trumpet. Please praise me. If you say that, if you praise, you will definitely be praised. Who dares not to praise a lower-level territory lord? But I can't tell what's going on behind the scenes. It could be that he was making fun of him for being a powerful person in the lower level of the territory lord. He was actually competing with the first level of the territory lord. He even killed people for fun in order to take revenge. Anyway, it is impossible for Jia Yan to reveal his true identity for the time being. How embarrassing otherwise. But everyone must be fully prepared. One of the opponent's domain lords died, and another junior was seriously injured. This will definitely arouse the anger of the opponent's army. Next, either senior domain lords will be sent for reinforcements, or several junior domain masters will come at the same time, and they will definitely take action on our war zone. The senior domain lord level commanders looked at Jia Yan in particular. Jia Yan, as the person at the center of the storm, you must be more careful about the other party's targeting. Maybe in 3 or 4 days, maybe in 5 or 6 days, they will definitely send strong men to come, and they are destined to target you. Thanks for the advice, I understand. Jia Yan nodded, his expression as usual. In about 4 or 5 days, Moy will have researched the information to the point where he can leave without knowing how the other party will find him. And even if the other party blocks you somewhere when you leave, that would be even better. He unleashed his strength unscrupulously. Not to mention a few ordinary domain lords, even if a few senior domain lords came, or even fake great powers, he would have to tear those little guys into pieces. Jia Yan's style made others think more. Anyway, I am sure that he must be from some big force. Whether he went out to practice or to avoid trouble, no one knew. Some people even thought too much, thinking that Jia Yan was not nervous at all because he had a senior domain lord level powerhouse guarding him behind him. All in all, 3 days flew by. Lord Jia Yan, the plans I have thought of are all in the process of design integration and will probably be ready tomorrow. Sir, please wait a little longer. On this day, Moy came to the barracks where Jia Yan was located and told him about his progress. The other strong men only thought that the doctor came to review the body, and no one paid so much attention. Oh, will it be fine tomorrow? Jia Yan thought for a while, nodded and said, okay, leave it to me tomorrow, and I will leave here and go to another place of miraculous doctors in your Wuhi war zone. Hey, I know where the senior is going. That guy is more difficult to deal with than me. I wonder if he is still not so tough talking when I get to him. After hearing Jia Yan's words, Mosquito seemed to know who Jia Yan was going to find. A humane smile appeared on the weasel's head. Among the miracle doctors, or the miracle doctors who hang out in this area, they are usually a little sick in the brain and like weird things, so there is not much sympathy for each other, but a lot of hostility. He was looking forward to seeing Jia Yan's face. Have you been frightened by a powerful person and dare not speak harshly? Then go say goodbye to those guys today. After saying goodbye to Mosquito, Jia Yan walked towards the military camp. In the past 2 days, he took a few days off under the pretense of being slightly injured in the last battle. Jia Yan, why are you here in the camp? If you're injured, just take a good rest. Everyone is looking forward to your return. Several domain lords are having a meeting in the office. The main discussion is how they will respond if the enemy forces send more masters. Which experts should I apply to above? When they were worried, Jia Yan arrived, which made everyone feel a little weird. Didn't you say you were injured? Valley. Although everyone could see that Jia Yan was not seriously injured, after experiencing such a battle before, even they would probably want to rest for a while. Everyone, I came here this time to say sorry to you. Jia Yan smiled. He wouldn't leave until tomorrow, and he wasn't going to talk about his departure. Otherwise, we will cause trouble now and leave unhappy. It's okay. I'm sorry or whatever. Needless to say, we will still be comrades in arms in the future. Several strong men gave out friendly smiles. If Jia Yan hadn't been a powerful junior domain lord, they would never have looked so good. But Jia Yan's strength proved that he could be of some help to the war, so his attitude became far more enthusiastic than before. The strong are such a group of realistic creatures. Jia Yan listened to the discussion of this group of strong men. He was extremely nervous about them, and he didn't care what kind of masters the enemy would send to avenge them. After all, he had already eliminated a junior domain lord for this force, so he couldn't help them deal with the possible threats behind them as well. Jia Yan didn't believe it. Before this, similar things had never happened between the two armies. There is always a way around it. Just when Jia Yan rose slightly and left, he got up in the hotel tomorrow, took away some of Mosquito's research results and supplies, and said goodbye. A slight look of surprise appeared on his calm face. "What's wrong, Jia Yan? Are you unhappy with our negotiation?" "No, I'm a newbie, so I really don't understand much. Let's just talk, and I'll go back first." Jia Yan smiled and shook his head. Then he exited the office. In an inaccessible place, Jia Yan soared into the sky. Facing the direction of that distant place, he rushed towards the existence where he released his breath. At this moment, the existence that showed its aura appeared in front of Jia Yan. The two looked at each other out of thin air, less than a kilometer apart. For a strong person, this is already quite a short distance. The character opposite is a creature that looks like an ice sculpture walking out of a world of ice and snow. At first glance, it looks ordinary. But the strength it exudes to the outside world is definitely extraordinary. A real territory lord. Jia Yan couldn't help but lament. It is said that even among the major superstars, lower-level powers are rare. Even many mortal creatures regard lower-level powers as gods. Many fake powers regard the existence of true powers as legends. But as an outsider like me, I have only arrived in Southern Superstar for a short time, and I have already met so many truly powerful people. This is no joke. Your Excellency, I wonder what you are doing by showing off your momentum to attract me to show up. Jia Yan smiled calmly, without the slightest fear of this colleague. Just as he knows how strong the lower level is, he also knows that he belongs to the lower level of Domain Lord and is extremely difficult to deal with for anyone of the same level. Gu Jingbuobo looked at Jia Yan, a creature that looked like an ice sculpture. Then he said angrily, "It's ridiculous. You come to occupy our territory and cause trouble. You don't report your purpose, but the evildoer can't complain first." Jia Yan paused, a little embarrassed. "Okay. Again, the strong protect the food." It was almost the same as the Honglin Mighty last time. The other party might have sensed Jia Yan's aura, and then ran in front of Jia Yan to threaten him, or came to defend his territory. Jia Yan shook his head helplessly. Isn't it agreed that in the rabble-rouse areas, where the major forces are at odds, the powerful will hardly take care of the matter? Or is it that the powerful fight against the powerful, and those below fight against those below, and the powerful ones crowd out other powerful and strong people from outside? Although it may not hit the mark, it definitely won't be too wrong. Jia Yan finally understood. It's not like he can meet a strong person. But since he himself is a strong man and doesn't want you to steal food, he will naturally show up to fight with you. Friend, I have no intention of seizing the territory of other forces like you. Jia Yan shook his head. You killed one of our territory lords, which caused a shortage of our front-line troops. Do you admit this? Jia Yan was startled again, and nodded helplessly. Yes, I admit this, but I only killed one elementary level regional lord. There is no need for you to come and kill me personally, right? The other side was already impatient. Inside the ice sculpture-like body, an ice sword made of ice and snow protrudes. Since you have admitted it on your own, there is a definite conclusion to this matter. Either get out of the Wuhi area owned by me now, or lose here and get out of the Wuhi area again. Choose one of the two, please make your decision. Choose. Hearing what the other party said, Jia Yan suddenly became angry. Good guy, you are sure that I will definitely lose, and you want to bully me, right? Let me tell you, I don't choose either, I choose to defeat you. He snorted coldly. The figure suddenly turned into black light and shadow, piercing the sky and heading straight towards the opponent. You, the mere beginners on the road to heaven, are on par with us, the Path Blazers. There is a gap in strength, but you don't even understand this matter. The ice sculpture sneered. His ice sword seemed to have magic power. When Jia Yan charged in front of the opponent, the sword followed him like a shadow and actually struck Jia Yan's head. Ding! Jia Yan was so frightened that he broke into a cold sweat. He quickly raised his feet to resist and collided with the sword. The figure looked sideways and flew backwards, and his expression finally became solemn. Find bookstore. There's something weird about this sword. As soon as the opponent made a move, Jia Yan actually felt like he was being suppressed in terms of rank. I had never felt anything like this when I encountered giant trees or red forests before. Could it be that this person is stronger than the first two? No, the giant tree has never really made a move against me. It is said that its strength is so strong that it defies the heavens. As for Hong Lin, the last night battle was said to be against me, but who knows whether he tried his best. Jia Yan pondered for a moment, his expression ugly. Anyone who feels that their strength is not as great as originally imagined will be unhappy. A first-time traveler? A pathbreaker? Jia Yan's eyes were filled with an expression of incomparable wisdom. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3038. He is a very quick-thinking person, and he can quickly analyze what the other person's words say. Heavenly road should refer to the terrifying road that Tai's Hang led him through. Could it be that this late-level powerful man has also been led, and are there any small stage strength levels among them that have been redivided due to the heavenly road? No, no, impossible. Jia Yan's heart was solemn and he rejected this idea. The so-called lower-level domain lords have all reached the top, although there will definitely be a gap in strength. But it is absolutely impossible to draw a level of strength. At this level, what matters is the mutual restraint of skills and combat experience. Although there are differences in strength, the differences are no longer as exaggerated as absolute levels. The so-called path blazer by the other party is definitely not an obvious hierarchical classification. The heavenly road is a path to enlightenment for us and others that may lead to a higher level. As Jia Yan backed away, all kinds of thoughts flashed in his mind. When I set foot on it, I am a newcomer. Although it seems that I have walked a very long way, I have no deep understanding of the heavenly road itself. Most of the other powerful people, such as me, who are late territory lords, must have set foot on the heavenly road earlier than me, and their understanding of the heavenly road, at least at the basic level, is much better than mine. And the rough basic levels they have divided are definitely not differences in strength, but rather differences in understanding of the heavenly road. Jia Yan's eyes flickered. Although the understanding of perception may not necessarily turn into strength, when it comes to the matter of heavenly road, it is definitely the weirdest thing that Jia Yan has experienced in the entire galaxy so far. In his life, except for the original giant world, nothing could compare to the experience on the road to heaven. Of course, when it comes to magic, superstars and the like can definitely be ranked among them, but Jia Yan is talking about cultivation and enlightenment. Ping! Jia Yan collided with the power of the ice sculpture again. The situation on both sides seems to be evenly divided. But the other person's expression was calm and unhurried. Jia Yan was a little confused. In the battle of the strong, a similar feeling will create a gap little by little, and eventually a difference in strength will appear, which determines life and death. Jia Yan understood something. The various levels of differences on the heavenly road are probably not based on strength, but on the perception of the path. He who has walked steadily on his own path is the one who opened the way. I am a newbie here, so at best I can count newcomers. Having more understanding of the original path, this kind of character can see a lot of things about the origin when doing anything. Although it may have a minimal impact on the strength, the reaction will last for a long time. Combat, perception, crisis premonition, etc., will all be excellent weapons. After all, my strength has actually been greatly improved. No wonder he looks down on me so much. After Jia Yan realized this, his eyes shone brightly. You are on the road to heaven. The more you understand, the more powerful you are? Or are you looking down on the powerful ones at the same level just because you have so many insights? You have a lot of insights, but it doesn't prove that you will be close to the real late stage of the galaxy right away. Jia Yan can be sure that he is on the road to heaven and the distance ahead is not short. He has this confidence. Therefore, even if the things I have learned have not accumulated yet, I think that my strength will definitely not be any worse. Puff. Since the other party was confident, Jia Yan stopped hiding him. Breaking open the subspace, he suddenly crashed into the opponent's arms. Huh? Subspace talent. The expression of the ice sculpture creature suddenly changed. He never thought that he would encounter a person of the same level who possesses the talent of subspace. You must know that the existence of subspace talents represents difficult, immortal, fierce, and other pronouns throughout the galaxy. Even before this ice sculpture creature had never heard of a subspace talent of the same level. The circle of territory lords at the lower level is neither too small nor too big. Even if it were thrown onto the entire southern star, the circle would probably not be that big, with hundreds or even thousands of people reaching the top. You know, this is the southern superstar, a place where one star is said to be worth the other 3 stars. In the outside Milky Way, it is said that if all the top experts are gathered together, they can be compared with the giants like the northern superstar. There may not be as many hard-to-come-by masters as the late territory lords as there are in the northern superstar. In other words, in a circle as large as the southern star, he had never heard of any late-level domain lord who had mastered the talent of subspace. Unexpectedly, an extremely strange person appeared in front of me. No matter how talented you are still just a beginner. After being shocked for a moment, this strong ice sculpture ignored Jia Yan's sudden figure. The ice sculpture sword in his hand accurately hit Jia Yan's protruding forefoot. Really? Jia Yan's heart skipped a beat, and the expression on his face became a little ugly. He has always relied on his subspace talent to appear, assassinate, and so on. Not only will he be successful when he first uses it, it will at least frighten the beings of the same level and make them panic. But the other party seemed calm and composed. I didn't know he had subdimensional talent. But on a deeper level, he has understood more of the origin of the heavenly path and is fully aware of any changes. You don't understand as much as him. Even if the assassination is sudden, in the eyes of the other party, it is just an ordinary move. The heavenly road is so magical. If I had known, I would have been more careful. Jia Yan sighed, calmed down his anger, and retreated before the opponent could attack again. The current situation is that no matter what moves I use, the opponent remains motionless. It seems that he can't defeat him, but in terms of the situation between the two sides, Jia Yan is obviously at a disadvantage. This is the difference between the pathblazer and the beginner. It's not an absolute advantage. Rather, it is a gap in certain perceptions and understandings between the two parties. Maybe Jia Yan can still defeat or even kill the opponent, but it will be very difficult, and it still requires luck and crushing strength. At least now. Jia Yan felt extremely uncomfortable, thinking that he might not be the opponent's opponent. There is no need to continue fighting, because the opponent is not a person with strong subspace talent. If he wants to escape, it is impossible to chase him. Rumble, rumble. The two are instantly separated. This battle made Jia Yan very painful. It's different from previous battles. It is a feeling of being suppressed by the opponent in every aspect, like falling into a spider's web. Everything is under the control of the enemy. Every time he makes a move, he has to work hard, deceive and fake moves, and he has to make hundreds or even thousands of moves in an instant. Otherwise, it will definitely be seen through. However, even if you make hundreds or thousands of them, it is difficult to get a harvest. The other party saw through him and resisted Yun Danfenking. In the past, even if Jia Yan couldn't beat him in battle, he could still fight with ease and just attack like crazy. But this one in front of me. That's not to say it's impossible to beat. It's just too strenuous and tiring. That over there is a confrontation between powerful men. Hey, the person who took action seems a bit familiar. Gu Xiao. Jia Yan? Impossible, how could it be him? Jia Yan is actually a powerful person. Below, although the battle site is already some distance away from the battlefield, this distance cannot hinder the vision of the domain lord level powerhouses. They looked far into the distance and immediately spotted the two figures in the confrontation here. The existence that made them stun the most. It was Jia Yan. Jia Yan is already famous on the battlefield, especially his one defeat and one victory, and the final reversal, which makes him famous. But the current situation. For a moment, everything that happened after Jia Yan came here echoed in everyone's minds. Many people reacted dumbfounded. Damn it, this is a powerful person who plays games in the world? Damn it, everyone was fooled. No. How can you be disrespectful to the Almighty? It should be said that this powerful man is simply approachable. He is even willing to play the game where he was defeated by the territory lord at the beginning level on the battlefield, without caring about his own face. So strong. This is the power of the mighty one. On the other side of the battlefield, the powerful domain lord level opponents on the hostile side also looked at it. After recognizing Jia Yan, many enemies looked at each other and their expressions changed suddenly. No, how come the other one looks like the mighty master of our power? Ah, so to speak, it is true that the Lord is the most powerful existence we know. It is said that during the battle for the Wuhi area, the Lord has killed more than one powerful person. What kind of person is this? Yan should not be able to escape the sniper attack from the Lord. Yes, did you see that Jia Yan has been suppressed? A battle scene in the sky. Jia Yan was indeed suppressed by the opponent at every turn. No matter where he attacked, Jia Yan was met with failure. Beginner, you don't have to struggle anymore, just go by yourself, otherwise you may get hurt and the embarrassment will be even more serious. The ice sculpture-like creature looked at Jia Yan with a sneer. He was very satisfied with his fighting ability. And I feel even more satisfied that the other party is of the same level and I can drive him away. After all, even if he is the Path Blazer, he will never think that with his current strength alone, he can injure a subspace talent of the same level. Therefore, his purpose is very clear, that is, to defeat Jia Yan and drive him away in full view of the public. In this way, if Jia Yan still has some dignity, he should not appear in this area again. Otherwise, they really want to compete with him for the initiative in this territory, and the two sides will reach a situation where they will fight to the death. Humph, so what about the so-called Pathbreaker? Jia Yan held his breath. Under the connection of his brainwave power, certain objects in the subspace quickly shot up, and the lightning and flints were shot next to the battlefield where the two were fighting. What's in subspace? The other party obviously felt it. But before he could make any move, Jia Yan attacked again, forcing him to resist with all his strength. Poof! A stone-like object was shot out of subspace. Hide! The strong ice sculpture's eyes suddenly became solemn, and Shi Potion struck out with a knife, which happened to hit Jia Yan's foot, and he quickly retreated with the help of the reaction force of this force. Earth-shaking explosions burst into the air. There was a little coldness in the other party's eyes. There was also a hint of fear. The power of the self-explosion of the stones does not seem to be too great, but it is a technique to limit the spread to a small area as much as possible. If it is covered over the head, even he will be slightly injured. In a battle of the same level, don't underestimate a small degree of trauma, it may be a huge variable that changes the tendency of the battle. Your subspace abilities are surprising. Is it just an accident? Jia Yan smiled, and in the midst of his ferocious voice, there was a lot of movement in the subspace. His entire body also entered the subspace. That's right, Jia Yan's fighting ability has never been just that of normal fighting in the outside world. Although he can also play well outside, from the beginning to the end, he relies on the subspace to get started and kill enemies beyond the level. Now using subspace explosives is Jia Yan's true combat ability. Jia Yan was a little reluctant to just consume the subspace explosives. The battle over the face of the strong is sometimes inevitable. It seems that there is nothing to lose in defeat, and he can escape no matter what, but what defeats him will be his determination to move forward. Such a defeat, and a defeat at the same level, for him who is only over 100 years old, it is not a bolt from the blue. It is very likely that his progress will be temporarily blocked, and it will be difficult for him to make any progress in the following decades or even centuries. For ordinary lower-level domain lords, such a failure is probably nothing. But for Jia Yan at this age, it has a huge impact, so he is even willing to use his trump card. Is this guy getting anxious? The other party's expression changed. Obviously, Jia Yan's subspace explosives caught him by surprise. But what is even more unexpected is that Jia Yan is actually willing to start a near-killing battle with himself without a huge conflict of interests. As a result, his momentum was somewhat hindered. He wanted to quit. It's not worth fighting a being like this. So that's it? The vitality in him is so strong. It's good to be young. Fiercely, the ice sculpture expert felt Jia Yan's vitality, and even vaguely read that Jia Yan had a high probability of not even being 300 years old. A complete genius. For such a genius, keep moving forward courageously and do not want to lose even one game. Moreover, after reaching the lower level of Territory Lord, he is still a character with subspace talent, and it is difficult for him to lose even if he wants to. Unless he encounters the same subspace talent and can hunt him down with subspace talent, it is unlikely that he will be defeated by someone of the same level. Obviously, being a strong ice sculpture is not within the scope of Jia Yan's surrender. So he simply used his trump card. Then let's try it. This ice sculpture expert understood why Jia Yan opened up, but he had no intention of giving up the fight directly. Poof. The explosives lingering in the subspace were shot out twice in an earth-shattering way. Ice. The ice sword in the hand of the strong ice sculpture emits a slender ice-shaped light. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3039. The two stones that had just flown out of the subspace were actually frozen in mid-air and could not even explode. What a powerful ice ability. Jia Yan sighed. Sure enough, whoever reaches the lower level of the Territory Lord is a weakling, let alone the so-called path opener. He is someone who has realized the power of rules deeper than himself. Even the sneak attack-like explosives are already felt by the opponent as soon as they are shot out of the subspace. If you want to talk about how you feel. Jia Yan described the feeling the other party made to him as incomparably rounder, with no words to speak of. It seems to be the perfect same level, which is very tricky. but it doesn't feel like it can't be defeated. It's just that I'm not as perfect as the other person, and there's a lot of difference in perception. Ping ping. The next moment, another explosive rushed out of the subspace and hit the sword-shaped ice and snow shot by the ice sculpture creature, freeing the two explosives. 4 large explosives hovered, trapping the ice sculpture creature inside. The other party's eyes moved quickly from time to time, staring at the 4 ice sculptures. You still haven't hit it this time. Suddenly, the last 7 explosives were shot out from the depths of subspace. This is the maximum amount of explosives that Jia Yan can perfectly control since his mental power reached the current level. 11 explosives, and 7 major explosives were released in a sudden attack, covering 11 major directions, covering the sky and the earth. If he doesn't win again, Jia Yan will have some doubts about his life. This is his trump card. As expected, the ice sculpture creature's eyes flashed with considerable shock, and then a large number of ice swords poured out from around the body, and ice swords spread all over the body in an instant. These sword bodies are all drawing circles, and every time a circle is drawn, a hard ice-like shield will appear in front of the sword body. The next moment, 11 positive and negative explosives all hit the surface of the ice sculpture creature that had been wrapped in thousands of shields. Boom 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 boom. The sound of explosions that shook the earth and the mountains lasted for a long time. Shock waves followed one after another, and in the sky, a large number of fragments of positive and negative explosives, as well as fragments of ice, stirred between the sky and the earth. Jia Yan remained calm and looked at this picture from a distance, while the positive and negative forces were already stirring between his feet, and the surface of his body was gradually filled with a little blue color. This means that Jia Yan is still gathering strength. If the Path Blazer was so easy to kill, Jia Yan wouldn't use his ultimate move because of the opponent. Ping. Sure enough, just when Jia Yan had gathered a lot of energy and was about to fight with the opponent again, a rainbow of ice appeared in the center circle of the explosion, freezing everything around it, and then the ice spread outward, even the shock wave. And the fragments that shot out were all frozen into it. Everything shattered and bloomed in the air like points of light. All the scenes returned to calmness in an instant. No one would believe it unless they saw it with their own eyes. A shocking battle that could shatter the entire earth had just occurred. The ice sculpture creature looked at Jia Yan with a calm expression. There were traces of viciousness on Jia Yan's giant mosquito's face. He was prepared to fight with the opponent for hundreds of more moves. If he really couldn't beat him, he would have no choice but to retreat if he was embarrassed. Anyway, being able to fight hundreds of moves without defeat should not have a big impact on his cultivation intention. Unexpectedly, his determination seemed to be read by the other party. The ice sculpture let out a long sigh. He slowly turned into a lifeless ice sculpture. Hundreds of kilometers away, an ice sculpture with exactly the same appearance as him appeared. The lifeless ice sculpture on the spot actually shattered into particles of heaven and earth. Jia Yan was startled. Want to leave? Where to go? Suddenly, he realized that the other party was about to withdraw. His heart suddenly became extremely hot. Since it was not him who chose to retreat, but the other party, he had to be strong enough. He stepped up his feet and entered the subspace. When he appeared in the next breath, he was already thousands of kilometers away and almost caught up with the strong man who had turned into an ice sculpture. The opponent came out of Jia Yan's subspace, and pierced his body with his feet. At the same time, his body lost its vitality again. What Jia Yan pierced was just a fake body. At the same time, the other party's true body reappeared 500 or 600 kilometers away, looked at Jia Yan indifferently, and turned into nothingness again. Jia Yan can catch up. But after he pierced the body, he stopped moving. Because he also understands that it's not that they can't beat him, but they just don't want to continue to waste energy. Jia Yan has a reason to fight because he is young and enterprising. If he loses, he will lose a lot of forward momentum. But the other party is different. No matter how young he is at least 1,000 years old. He has experienced countless successes and failures. No matter whether he wins or loses this battle, it will not have any impact on his state of mind. So he was willing to take a step back. Jia Yan's attack with subspace explosives just now still shocked the opponent. Otherwise, he would not have retreated so neatly. Because that was the trump card that could really defeat him and get him injured. Instead of fighting with such a silly young man, wouldn't it be better for him to do something else? At least on the surface, you lost. Jia Yan smiled jokingly. He understands the other person's psychology. But on the surface, I won, and that was enough. His enterprising spirit was not affected, and his overall momentum was as strong as a rainbow. This guy has come forward, and my identity has been basically exposed. If I don't leave, there will be more trouble. I'll go to the hotel and wait for Mosquito for a long time, and then take the little guys and fly away. Jia Yan sighed, and returned to the city in a flash. Return to hotel. Brother, the master is back so early today. Master. Aidisha and Xiao Yu have been playing in the hotel for several days. But there is no need to worry about them becoming lonely left behind children. They played too many tricks, especially since Aidisha had so many skills. Even the TV was almost converted into a supercomputer by her, and the two of them had a great time playing games. My identity has been roughly exposed. You will stay with me from now on, just in case something unexpected happens. Okay. The two of them had unreserved trust in Jia Yan. Jia Yan deliberately took out his communicator and contacted Mosquito. The other party said that he should be fine. Moy had the experience of being approached by strong men from other places to solve certain problems, but those strong men did not reach Jia Yan's level of strength. Now, if Jia Yan obtains the genetic information he provided and then leaves on his own, maybe the leaders of this area will not punish him, Mosquito, but may instead reward him. After all, this also represents the importance of Mosquito. Even a powerful person is willing to come here specifically to seek help from him. If Jia Yan were the master of this place, he would only protect such capable people and strangers. Hang up the communication. Path Blazer. Jia Yan returned to his room and thought hard inside. In today's battle, at least until the positive and negative explosives were finally used, Jia Yan was quite frustrated. It's almost like losing. But he also learned a lot from today's battle. For example, among the powerful people in the lower ranks of territory lords, there are first-timers and path openers. Most of them have walked on the road to heaven and have seen the Supreme Being. After being given certain senses by the Supreme Being, they have gone further on the road of self-awareness than Jia Yan, and their ability to grasp the outside world far exceeds that of Jia Yan. If Jia Yan didn't have a few trump cards, he might have lost the ability to resist in the face of such an existence. It is far from certain that defeat is inevitable. Instead, he will be suppressed so hard that even if he doesn't lose, it is absolutely impossible to win. This is the horror of trailblazers. The beating made Jia Yan doubt his life. So how did the Pathfinder get promoted? Jia Yan estimated that he should have learned this thing on his own. He has come into contact with few powerful people of the same level, and most of them are somewhat hostile to him, so he needs to think about it slowly, or find someone who is willing to answer his questions for him. He decided that if he encounters someone of the same level next time, he must humbly ask for advice. Otherwise, people will fight with him again. Speaking of which, I feel now that the lower level powerful ones are actually quite aggressive. It is almost impossible for two people of the same level to be together. Jia Yan started through the giant tree until the previous strong ice sculpture noticed that the other party was unwilling to be on good terms with him. The same goes for the mighty mangrove mandarin. Although he didn't fight to the death like a strong ice sculpture, he still had a fight. Perhaps for the lower level powerhouses, Do they also need supplies? Jia Yan has always believed that in the later era, external resources will not be of much help to them. At least he relied on absorbing the remaining body substances of the white dolphin along the way, and after living for such a long time, he did not feel the desire for external supplies. Maybe it's because I've just been promoted and I still have money in my stomach. I'm afraid that when this period of time passes, there will be similar needs. Otherwise it cannot be explained. Why do the dignified and powerful men of the lower ranks still guard a large amount of regional supplies and refuse to let others of the same rank intrude? Actually, there are quite a few inside stories. For example, why don't they care about weaker existences, and don't even expel fake powerful ones, but only expel me? Is it just because someone of the same level would endanger their safety? But I can't explain it. After all, if the strong ice sculpture didn't take the initiative to show up, I would have hardly noticed that he was nearby. Could it be that they occupy these areas not to compete with the powerful men under the false power, but to compete for things that are only useful to the lower ranks of domain lords? What could that be? Jia Yan fell into deep thought for a moment. Don't look at the fierce fight between him and the strong ice sculpture, and he almost got really angry. As participants in the war, both of them knew that they were just testing. Far from the point of distinguishing between life and death. If you really want to distinguish between life and death, it's not like that in a fight. The methods may be similar, but the spirit is completely different. I'll make a note of this. If I encounter someone of the same level again in the future, I must observe this carefully. Jia Yan didn't believe that any of his peers would be so kind, so he told himself that he would seek help from within. Maybe every so-called newcomer needs to spend a lot of time personally, studying and pondering before they can finally come to the conclusion they want. Not long after Jia Yan was promoted, he felt that this problem was also a matter of great luck. After thinking about this, he suddenly became less concerned about the previous repressive battle. The clouded heart also disappeared. Sir, things have been temporarily sealed up above. But the next morning, just as Jia Yan was about to go to Mosquito to receive the information he wanted, another piece of news came that made him overcast. Jia Yan's lower half face became gloomy. He said calmly to the communicator, "Do they know that the things are to be handed over to me, a truly powerful person?" "Well, I told you your identity, but after they came here, they seemed to be here for my information and didn't give me a chance to tell you. In other words, they let me communicate with you now." Jia Yan listened and nodded expressionlessly. "So, they did it on purpose. He has long since passed the age of fighting and trembling. Now, even if he meets the Pathfinder, it will only be a draw. With the subspace talent in hand, he can escape if he cannot be beaten. The sky is so vast that except for some high-level beings in the galaxy who dare not provoke him, he is not afraid. Anything. He even took away the information he had researched from Mosquito after all his efforts and cooperation with the acting. For Jia Yan, this was an extremely serious incident that offended His Majesty as a powerful man. But the other party should have some backing. Otherwise, how would you dare to show off your power in front of a truly powerful person? Tell me where they are, and I'll pay them a visit right away." Jia Yan said without sounding any different in his tone. Moy pondered for a moment, then sighed and said, "They are the government affairs office in the center of the city." Click. Moy only listened to the sound of hanging up the communication. "Moy, you did a good job. Let's go, lest that person comes and thinks you are the one who betrayed him." There were sounds of commendation coming from around me. Moy looked at the owner who made the sound, and laughed at himself. Am I not the betrayer now? He stood up and walked out of the building, but before leaving, he left one more sentence. "But I advise you not to play with fire. If you underestimate a truly powerful man, you may get burned, and the outcome may not be good. We have come into contact with more powerful people than you. There is no need to use your eyes to guess our background. Please leave. After saying this, Mosquito finally left without looking back. The place he left was the Community of People's Livelihood buildings listed as the Government Affairs Office. It didn't take long. Shadows flashed on the street. Find the book garden. Jia Yan appeared directly outside the building with the two little ones. He arrogantly walked in through the door of the Government Affairs Office. Stand. A soldier was ready to intercept, but another person beside him called out to the soldier. The former seemed to have thought of something and saluted directly. Jia Yan didn't even look at them. He walked forward silently and looked left and right, as if he was examining the so-called Government Affairs Office. Like a king surveying his palace. It's quite beautiful here. Yes, so beautiful, Baba Baba. The two little girls followed Jia Yan obediently. Before coming, Jia Yan told them that the enemy this time might not be a minor character, so they should follow them closely. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3040. Push open the door of the main Government Affairs Hall building. Inside the gate, where the hall should have been, there were sofas, tables, chairs, and other items. A carefree horse-headed man sitting on the sofa, smoking a cigarette and wearing the uniform of an official from the Government Affairs Department, sat in such a dignified manner. Friends, welcome to our Government Affairs Office. It's so splendid. The other party smiled and waved his hand, leading Jia Yan to sit down. Immediately, other people filed out, serving tea, cakes, and all kinds of unique food that could only be enjoyed in this raucous area. Jia Yan looked at the group of people entertaining him with a half-smile. Just Mateo Yu is a fake powerful being. Although there was a senior domain lord in front of this so-called formation, the information he received showed that there was no fake powerful person in the city. I don't know why this fake great power exists here, or whether he has been hiding his identity in this city before. That's interesting. The outside world doesn't even know its information, so the meaning is worth pondering. Or hiding the enemy. Or they even hide it from themselves. The picture is very big. But what does it have to do with Jia Yan? He just wants his things back. That's it? You don't even have a real powerful person, but you dare to snatch something from my hand. Your courage is not ordinary. Jia Yan calmly came to the chair. This kind of chair for insects to lie down was quite comfortable, and he sat down. The two little fishes of Edisha jumped directly into the pile of snacks. One stretched out his little hand and ate hard, while the other fish opened its mouth and sucked various snacks, all of which were devoured. Senior, please don't do this. If you continue to do this, I can't guarantee that your information will disappear. By the way, a few of Mosquito's equipment broke down and were scrapped for unknown reasons last night. You must know that these equipment are if it is made specifically, even if it is remade, it will not have the same effect as before. The implication. Where is the other party? Jia Yan's information is threatening him. Haha. Jia Yan smiled, and a chill came from his heart, causing a slight chill to spread all around the nearby Government Affairs Hall. Yesterday, he just had a battle with a strong ice sculpture, and he still carried the opponent's chilly mood. By borrowing it, the effect was much stronger than if he simply used his own momentum to suppress people. Senior, we naturally know that you may not cherish this information. At best, it is just the research of a researcher. If you want, you can go to other places and get similar things. But, what about the time spent in between? What the other party said was very concise and to the point. Jia Yan was very calm. Needless to say, you only need to state your purpose, and I will weigh the pros and cons between you and the document. Jia Yan has already made plans to kill the other party on the spot if he continues to talk nonsense, and then eradicate the entire Government Affairs Office without leaving a single blade of grass behind. The horse-headed creature picked up the wine glass and slowly took a sip of the drink. It seems that someone like him who has been in a high position for a long time also has a good attitude. He didn't even seem to be bearing Jia Yan's momentum. Of course, this person is also a senior domain lord, and it is natural that he can withstand Jia Yan's momentum to a certain extent as he is a fake powerful person. Sir, you are right. Weak people like us are just like that chicken to the truly powerful. If you kill them, you will kill them. Killing us is more serious than squeezing a chicken to death simple. He smiled sarcastically, as if he had thought of something. To be blunt, you still have a few breaths of chance to speak, but you are still trying to figure out your purpose. Jia Yan is still sitting, but his momentum has already locked onto the opponent. It's just a document. Just like what the other party said, there's no way Jia Yan can restrain his hands because of this. If he really wants to be threatened, he might as well kill the other party. If the document is destroyed, he will kidnap Mosquito to visit a medical practitioner elsewhere. After discussing it with others, he still didn't believe it. Without the machine and data, Mosquito himself couldn't make another copy, and it was possible to make a better one. If this person continues to be wordy, Jia Yan will take action directly without any scruples. The other party is obviously not someone seeking death. After seeing the look of true anger on Jia Yan's face, his expression suddenly changed slightly and he said bluntly, "Actually, my lord must have made some guesses about what he wants from us. What we want is, the power of the realm. In the entire southern superstar, the power that is most suitable for the cultivation of strong people above the domain lord is the power of the realm. However, the power of the realm is controlled by strong men like you. Ordinary domain lords like us are either suffering. If you are looking for opportunities, you must either worship and practice under a certain truly powerful being, otherwise you may not be able to break into the realm of true powerful beings one day in this life. The boundary power in the Wuhi area is extremely abundant. We initially noticed this and worshipped our true master. But now that we are in the war zone, there is no fighting in the distance, so naturally we will never have the boundary power. Granted. Therefore, I am willing to change my identity and serve under the master. Even if the master wants us to charge into the battle or even die, we will never say a word, just to get that elusive opportunity." Jia Yan listened silently, while doing a quick total analysis of the other person's words in his mind. He has been thinking these days that there must be some secrets about cultivation in this land of Southern Star that he doesn't know yet. Now listening to this person's words, I quickly came to a conclusion. What the horse-headed man said was serious, and 9 times out of 10 there should be some truth in it. But there should be some concealment, after all, they will only say good things about themselves. The power of realm. Jia Yan chewed this word repeatedly. Memories of fighting against really powerful men several times before and being expelled by the opponent came to mind. Is that what happened? Jia Yan was slightly surprised. Those strong men were expelled because they were afraid that Jia Yan would seize their realm power. No wonder, each lower level of territory lord has its own relatively closed territory and does not allow others of the same level to enter. There are many of them that Jia Yan can't figure out. But even so, Jia Yan was not willing to think more about it on his own. Isn't there someone worthy of his inquiry? Anyway, if the other party deceived him, he could just kill him and leave without losing anything. As long as he does not put himself in danger, even if there is a conspiracy, it will not cause extremely heavy losses to the lower level of the territory lord like Jia Yan. Jia Yan thought for a moment. Feel sorry. With these 2 words, the eyes of the horse-headed man opposite him instantly lost their luster, and even showed a hint of despair. This cannot be true. As a top strong man, Jia Yan has a superb ability to observe the expressions of others, especially the weak. He didn't explain anything, but continued. I really don't know much about the main force of the realm you mentioned. I will open the sky and make it clear. I am not a native of Nanjing Star, but from the outside world. As for the power of the realm you mentioned, in your before I spoke, I had never heard of it. Ah. That's what I meant when I said sorry. The other party's expression perked up. This time I was even more excited. You know, if it is a local truly powerful person, even if they can serve him, that big shot will probably have his own team, and he may even be able to kill the donkey. But it would be great if Jia Yan came from the outside world. This is the first time that such a powerful foreigner has even heard of the power of the realm. He may be a newcomer and has no power or subordinates of his own at all. If they take refuge in time and gain the trust of this powerful person, they will definitely have an unimaginable future. Sir, if you want to know information about the power of the realm, you can ask us and we will tell you everything we know. The eyes of several domain lord level beings all lit up. Jia Yan looked at these ruling officials. He's very cool. The several territory lords I saw in the military camp had no overlap with them at all. Thinking of this, he asked calmly, did you negotiate this operation with the military, or did you conceal it from the military? After thinking about it, the horse-headed creature said, we did it in secret from the military. The military has at least the possibility of being transferred. It has a bright future, and it vaguely doesn't put our old ruling system in any place in my eyes. If we discuss important matters with them, the secret may be leaked, resulting in our being shattered to pieces. Jia Yan felt it. It is true that these people are all very old, some are between 3,000 and 5,000 years old, and one of them is about 7,000 or 8,000 years old. Perhaps he is the oldest being he has seen in such a long time. Such an existence is still pursuing progress. However, this talent is at the beginning level of a territory lord, and is less than a senior territory lord. Unless his talent suddenly rises and improves by leaps and bounds, it is unlikely that he will have the opportunity to enter the later level of a territory lord before his death. Jia Yan sighed. I can't reply to you for the time being, but I need your information about the power of the realm, about their use, how other powerful beings will use it, how to deal with people of the same level who have their own plans, etc. You must tell me everything in detail, otherwise I will not agree to participate in your affairs. Jia Yan didn't agree in one breath. The horse-headed creature was refreshed again. If they want to convince a top true power, they also know that it is not that easy. Now that Jia Yan is willing to listen to them continue to explain in detail, it already represents a certain willingness. As long as their rhetoric, no, if they show sincerity enough, they will definitely have a great chance. The horse-headed creature did not dare to waver in any way, and released energy fluctuations as he spoke. This kind of action itself doesn't have much meaning. Just deliberately releasing a little energy can make someone stronger than yourself feel your feelings. Of course it is possible to fake it, but it will be difficult, just like people on Earth winning Oscars. If he is really that good at acting, Jia Yan doesn't believe that he has no chance of promotion in a border city now. Listening to his eloquent talk, others helped to fill in the omissions. Jia Yan gradually gained a great deal of supplements to some of the key information he was missing. He nodded involuntarily, with a hint of understanding appearing in his expression. Haha, that's actually the case. I asked why the giant trees, the red forest, and the strong ice sculptures from before were treating me like that when I first arrived. Some of them are both friendly and at the same time repellent, and this is exactly the case with Hunglin. There are also those who pretend to be crazy and drive themselves away. The giant tree can do it. The ice sculpture expert was the most straightforward. He showed up and had a fight with him. Jia Yan would understand all these various mentalities and practices if explained by the power of the realm. These guys, one or two, don't want Jia Yan to stay in their realm. A truly powerful person manages more than one or two so-called regions with realm power. There are definitely not many truly powerful beings even in the entire southern superstar. Hundreds of. There must be many areas under their management, and the most critical ones are those with the power of the realm. For other things that don't have the power of the realm, they either don't include them at all, or they just let nature take its course and let their subordinates take care of it, and they don't care about it at all. Usually, they run around in all the areas under their jurisdiction, and they don't have enough time. Still have to practice. Therefore, the lower ranks of territory lords above the southern superstar are actually quite busy. They seem to be elusive because they are usually on the road to collect the power of the realm. As for what the power of the realm is, sir, the power of the realm is the southern superstar, or some kind of power that exists above other superstars. It's just that our southern superstar has more areas with this power, and it is stable enough. It is above other superstars, such as the northern superstar. Superstars and the like generally appear by chance, and many powerful people cannot get them even if they try hard to get them. The effect of the power of this realm is to enhance the perception of the strong. They may be the first ray of sunlight when two stars rise at the edge of a certain realm, or they may be in a deep pool, the sound of falling spring water could be heard, or it could be a few leaves falling rustlingly in a mountain forest. In short, there are many possibilities, and the cause may be known to the really powerful people. We, the ordinary domain lords, don't know anything about it. Horsehead talks eloquently. The Wuhi area is extremely rich in resources, so it has 5 proven areas of power. And in this area, the one who has directly appeared to start a war so far is Bing, who had an unpleasant experience with the adults yesterday. Duneng, and the master of our force Hai Hu Duneng. As for the other forces, it seems that no truly powerful person has appeared yet, but there should be real powerful people commanding them behind them. Maybe they will pass. In a few days, those powerful people will move here from other realms, and by then, I am afraid it will be the largest confrontation between powerful people in the history of the entire Wuhi region. After hearing this, Jia Yan finally shook his head and smiled. Sure enough, a superstar is a superstar. I have been here for so long, but I only found out such important information today. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3041. If he hadn't come to such a chaotic place, he might not have learned such information from the weak mouths no matter how much he wandered around. Because the weak in other areas, or even the fake powerful ones, may not know this information. They are still confused and only hope that one day they can break through to true power. No wonder it seems very difficult for the powerful outsiders to advance. Within this superstar, there is such a thing as the power of the realm, which is beneficial to those with strength above the domain lord. Naturally, there are many strong people. Jia Yan sighed. The unique advantages of superstars are simply exaggerated. He, Jia Yan, has a lot of opportunities. But if the white dolphin hadn't been seeking death and had come to him for a life and death battle, he might still be stuck as a senior domain master, and he didn't know how long it would take to be promoted to the lower level of domain master. It's no wonder that a character like White Dolphin would create something like a virtual world just because he wanted to be promoted, spending countless resources, and eventually fell at Jia Yan's feet. Looking back, if I didn't have the physical and mental strength that the White Dolphin brought to my door, my breakthrough would have been more difficult than I imagined. Don't say that it would have been easy for me as an evolved beast. In fact, by the time I reached the stage of Senior Domain Lord, I don't seem to have anything left to devour. Unless I seek opportunities in places like superstars, I won't be able to break through for thousands of years. Jia Yan asked himself, if he were in a different place, he would still be searching hard for a breakthrough. Of course, those are just resources. Just like Jia Yan has known for a long time. Even if there are such and such benefits, when it comes to the probability of breaking through from a senior domain master to a lower level domain master, the probability is greater for creatures from the outside world. Maybe it's because the creatures outside have experienced too many hardships before they break through to the senior domain lord. Everyone who reaches the senior domain lord is a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood, countless opportunities and countless pains and tortures. After several times, to achieve the lower level of domain lord, sometimes you need a little breakthrough opportunity. So the outside world has a high chance of getting to that point. It's just that the two sides are not comparable. How many lower level territory lords are there outside the entire Milky Way central star region? Including Jia Yan, I dare not say that he broke 100, maybe 20 or 30. Those in the central star field of the Milky Way, plus the other three giant stars, are probably not as good as the southern giant star. In other words, no matter how difficult it is for the southern giant to break through to the lower level of territory lord, it can still easily crush the entire galaxy given the sheer numbers. So, the power of this realm is not only effective for ordinary domain lords like you, but also for the cultivation of the late-level powers of domain lords themselves. Is it absolutely effective? Yes, Master Jia Yan, although we are not particularly clear about the inside story of true power cultivation, it is said that several true powerhouses who came to the Wuhi area are said to be able to use the power of the realm here. Feel the progress of the road. Enlightenment from heaven. When Jia Yan heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up. What does he think he lacks? This is the realization of the road to heaven. No wonder, those guys, one or two, are like formidable enemies to me, and they are all in Tianlu's senses, which are much better than mine. Jia Yan pondered. Having said all that needs to be said, the veteran strong men above the group of domain lords were uneasy and looked at Jia Yan, as if waiting for Jia Yan's resignation. Jia Yan didn't keep them waiting for long. In fact, he didn't even have to wait. I have already come to a conclusion myself. If this southern superstar had such an opportunity, there was no way he would miss it. The only thing I need to worry about is that I am now in the process of collecting life-extending plans. He didn't want to forget his original intention once he got involved in a certain cultivation matter, causing his relatives and wives at home to waste their precious life in vain. Well, I can accept you. Jia Yan's words immediately aroused the joy of many powerful domain masters. But Jia Yan's next words made them uncertain. But you also know that I am in this area. It should even be said that I am in Nanjing. I am not here to improve my strength. So you have to wait for me to finish other things. If I am free later, I will returning to Nanjing Star. There are many variables here, and I don't need you to take it too seriously. If I don't come back, you will find another way out. Is this possible? Master Jia Yan, what should I do before you come back? You don't need to do anything. We only need to collect all the information about the power of the realm. You can even collect not only the Wuhi area. Aren't other powerful people managing many areas at the same time? Why can't I, Jia Yan? Of course. I will tell you when I come back next time. Before that, you can make good use of your current status and don't need to expose anything. Just stay safe and wait for me. Jia Yan made his promise. He could vaguely sense that the key to cultivation at the lower level of his domain lord was the power of this realm. But for him, with his own strength, he has the possibility to compete with other powerful people for luck wherever he goes. However, the group of old domain masters in front of him are missing him, and they may have no hope of making further progress in this life. We are willing to wait for you, sir. Don't look at me as a senile person, but the oldest one still has 1,000 or 2,000 years to live before his end. Forgive me for my blindness. I am afraid that you are only a few hundred years old now. How can I compare with old guys like me? What you call waiting for a period of time is at best a period of time for us to practice, and we can afford to wait. The strong horse-headed man laughed. The strong men around him also laughed out loud. Jia Yan shook his head awkwardly. Although these old domain lords are far inferior to me in strength, they have a good eye for seeing people. Even though their strength is much inferior to me, they can still see the vitality of living things. Jia Yan's vitality would almost explode if he didn't hide it deliberately. This was a display that could only belong to an extremely young life form. He was over 100 years old, and he didn't dare to tell. They were afraid that if they spoke out, some of the old domain lords in front of them would be unable to bear their jealousy and die on the spot. A junior domain lord of this age cannot be explained by any talent. Only luck, talents, skills, connections, etc., all come together to reach it. And just a hint of possibility. Jia Yan can do it, and he himself is ignorant. The second day. On the edge of the military-controlled city. 3 figures entered the subspace and disappeared after a few flashes. Jia Yan and Aditya Xiaoyu are left quietly. He must leave some possibility of still existing here for others to speculate and be suspicious of. In this way, those old domain lords who have taken refuge in themselves can still get some breathing space. Otherwise, they who want to rebel against their current master and take refuge with other powerful people may be easily found out, and then the backup they have left will be gone. Maybe they are gone when they are gone, and they are nothing more than insignificant existences. But Jia Yan is a man who makes promises worth $1,000, at least he is willing to keep his promises as long as it doesn't interfere with him too much. Besides, this group of people who take the initiative to seek refuge are indeed useful. It's like when he returns to Nanjing Star in the future and takes the initiative to win over some people with ulterior motives. Brother Master, do you have any ideas about the power of the realm? As smart as you are, you can guess this. Jia Yan looked at Adisha, who was teasing him angrily. This little guy likes to joke with himself lately. There is still a huge difference between her and the original Ji now. Eat, eat, eat. Master Brother's thoughts are written on his face. How can Adisha still not know? What Adisha said was so right. As the person who has been with Jia Yan for the longest time, she has been watching Jia Yan's growth since she was a Ji now. It can be said that she has completely recorded many of Jia Yan's emotional changes in her mind. Ba, Xiao Yu also knows that the master is tempted. Jia Yan was so embarrassed by these 2 little ones. Stop it, these natural treasures have no owners. I have done nothing wrong in targeting them. He, Adisha knows it. Xiao Yu also knows. Jia Yan couldn't laugh or cry. These 2 little guys now know about the front alliance. However, not long after their alliance, a battle broke out between the 2, either bickering or fighting, sometimes accompanied by crying and howling. Just 2 people, plus Jia Yan, a third country from the outside, it actually showed the momentum of the romance of the 3 kingdoms. It can be seen that the interpersonal relationships among children are actually complex. I have obtained this information about Mosquito. It should be the best. I think even if I go to other people, I won't get anything better than this. I can save a lot of time and look at 2 or 3 more companies for this trip to the black hole. The plan is probably a complete success. Jia Yan thought to himself. Under his control, the subspaces rushed through one by one. The 2 children have long been accustomed to Jia Yan leading them on their way in the subspace. When entering the subspace, they squatted next to them to play games or chat. After leaving the subspace, I exclaimed in surprise at the beauty of the scenery. Here in the Wuhe area, about 30 million kilometers away, there is a famous doctor. Jia Yan opened the pamphlet after his investigation and floated it in front of his eyes, directly seeing the information about the next target person. It is said that this person is even more famous than Mosquito. Jia Yan put away the booklet. However, he did not think that there would be much gain in the future. No matter how many times we study the genes of Earthlings and Satsuma, they will remain the same. If I continue to study it, I can't find any tricks. Even he can talk about the general research results and assumptions. After all, he belongs to the lower level of Territory Lord, and his mind and understanding of life are definitely not inferior to those of famous doctors. Of course, the actual operation and pathological analysis are far behind. Anyway, Jia Yan thought that the trip to Biostar was a bit unnecessary, but that time had another purpose, which was to bring Xiao Yu to formally become his disciple, so it was not a waste of time. Jia Yan was actually quite surprised that the harvest on the southern star was so rich and fast. The scenery of endless mountains remains unchanged. The black and gray mountains and forests are full of the so-called wuhi, which means there are black and gray. The vitality in the mountains and forests was so surging that sometimes even Jia Yan was a little surprised. Many trees have the possibility of becoming strong men, and some strong races have even been born among them. But more importantly, just like the giant tree powerhouse, they stood quietly on the spot. Even if some of their strength reached the domain lord level, they were unwilling to allow themselves to have spiritual intelligence. As if intelligence is such an insignificant thing. In fact, in some places, Jia Yan even felt enlightened involuntarily. There seemed to be nothing in the hearts of those trees, but as he silently comprehended, Jia Yan could vaguely feel the other person's thoughts and the reasons why they could not produce spiritual intelligence independently. These don't seem to be the so-called realm powers, but they are of great benefit to your understanding. This is the first time I have seen such a spirit. Jia Yan was silent again, and woke up from under a majestic tree thousands of meters high. This tree has approximately stellar level strength. If it wants to, it can move immediately. But it didn't do that. During the conscious exchange with Jia Yan read its vague message. It's because the other party doesn't want to develop intelligence or participate in the animal world above the southern superstar. Plants live in the same way as plants, and animals also live in the same way as animals. It does not mean that plants cannot move or think, so they live miserable lives. Call. Jia Yan couldn't help but salute this giant tree with stellar strength. He saw some kind of alternative enlightenment on the level of life. Very peculiar. But from another level, he can feel the meaning of life from the other person. It's not as simple as staying alive, being able to move, and cultivating yourself into a strong person. Above the southern superstar, there are actually the most trees and the most vigorous life forms. They are also the ones with the most vitality. If every one of them was like a strong person, working hard to become stronger and having a training system, I am afraid that the southern superstar would have been there long ago. There is no chance that other life will exist. It is even possible that the entire galaxy will be dominated by this kind of tree-vegetated life form. But they didn't do that. You read a book. Maybe it's nature's choice, or maybe it's the limitation of creating strong superstars in the first place. Find bookstore. But at least from Jia Yan's point of view, there are some great principles and great wisdom contained in it that he needs to sort out, understand, and digest. To me, these supreme spirits are no less than the realization of the power of the realm. Jia Yan smiled. Continue to lead the little kids on their way who are having a great time. Thousands of kilometers, even for a powerful person like Jia Yan, it took a long time to travel through subspace. Several days later, he was walking and shopping and came to the end of the field. There was fierce fighting everywhere in the Wuhi area. It's unclear how many forces there are. In short, after passing an area, the names of the two warring parties will change. Jia Yan can't even recognize who is who. Maybe even the names are passed around by lies, and if they pass it on to the wrong person, they may start a fight with their own people. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3042. After all, the territory is too big. This area is so complex. The war is fought over an area of tens of thousands of kilometers, hundreds of thousands of kilometers, or millions of kilometers. The chaotic situation is natural. Hey, there's another fight over there. Edisha is already tanned. Little Hiwa is in the sky, following Jia Yan down. A little girl who looks like a human, plus a little pink fish girl, plus an extremely tall giant mosquito. Such a configuration that doesn't seem very powerful. But it was an existence that many strong men met on the road simply did not want to provoke. Because the weirder the combination, the more likely it is to be strong. Can't afford to offend. After all, in the wilderness or in a war-torn area, who can walk around with a child? This shows that the giant mosquito is extremely powerful. Even the child is not a child, but a terrifying and powerful man with strength. Of course, they are indeed children. Strength. It's unremarkable, at least for Southern Superstar. Our target is the war zone over there. Jia Yan led the two little boys straight towards the area where the confrontation was taking place. On the front line, Jia Yan seriously doubted that one of them was a subordinate force of the strong ice sculpture. Because the names were inconsistent, even he didn't know which force he was on. But you can still get a glimpse of the opponent simply by looking at the opponent's moves and fighting skills and style. Fortunately, this time there is a miracle doctor in the force that is not subordinate to the strong ice sculpture. But the hostile forces at war with them. Fight me. This city is about to be exhausted. If we continue to siege for a few more days, we will surely break it. Let's fight. In a few days, when everyone enters the city, they will all have their own harvest. Massacre the city. We must massacre the city when we enter. 50 years of fighting have not destroyed this bullshit city. If it weren't for that doctor, this city would have been destroyed long ago. After entering the city, I will crush it to ashes as soon as possible. In the distance is a city. When Jia Yan and others arrived, they saw that the city was completely surrounded by the subordinate forces of the strong ice sculpture. The water is blocked. There are at least hundreds of thousands of troops, and there are senior domain masters among them. In Jia Yan's perception, the strongest person in the city is only the middle-level territory lord. However, they relied on the city's defense to hold off the enemy. This defensive ability is okay. This was the first time Jia Yan had seen similar defense techniques, and he suddenly felt like he had seen the immortal cultivation formation. However, upon closer inspection, one can see at a glance that the city's defense technique is not some immortal cultivation formation, but another technique for using spiritual power. Mental power is called brainwave power in the Orion Arm region, and the methods of using mental power there are generally very superficial methods such as brainwave shock, brainwave hallucination, and so on. As for the central star field of the Milky Way, the ways of using spiritual power began to be diverse and dazzling. When they arrived at the black hole area, Jia Yan had already noticed that their exploration of spiritual power was so profound that even Jia Yan, whose strength far exceeded ordinary strong men, would applaud from time to time. Jia Yan's brainwave power has always been his strong point. After reaching the domain master, he fell into inferior position. He was often attacked by other people's mental power, and he could only passively defend. It's not that Jia Yan's mental strength has become weaker, but that his former strengths are becoming increasingly inconspicuous among his peers. Everyone is a genius, and he doesn't put a lot of energy into it. It's normal for him to gradually become mediocre. But today, the mental power control plan is displayed in front of us. Jia Yan was greatly shocked and touched a lot. It is said that stones from other mountains can attack jade. The less experienced people are in high-end mental skills, the more likely they are to be attracted by certain points in the skills and have all kinds of fantastic ideas after seeing them. To put it bluntly, this is what perception is. Just random thoughts. Of course, the random thoughts of top experts are by no means ordinary things. Jia Yan had all sorts of thoughts going through him in an instant. After even Edisha saw the spiritual power that filled the sky like a formation, defending over the city, her little face became solemn and she quickly analyzed something. Presumably with her unique life form, the analysis conclusion she obtained was absolutely different from Jia Yan's, and the benefits she gained may be no less than Jia Yan's. This mental power formation should also come from that medical expert. Jia Yan remembered the contents of his intelligence, and his face showed a little surprise. This guy is far more powerful than the information he saw. After all, according to the information, this person is just a spiritual research genius. What I see and hear now is far more powerful than a genius, and he is basically like a founder. Jia Yan is quite well informed outside, at least he has never seen such mental power usage techniques, and it is very likely that they were originally created by the other party. Of course, above the Southern superstar or other superstars, there are many strong people and countless talented people. There should be people who have thought of similar skills, but Jia Yan has only encountered this one. Their joint mental power defense method is indeed strong. Unfortunately, the strength gap between the two sides is too big. The mental power inside is consumed too quickly and cannot be replenished. It is just wasting strength in vain, and it will inevitably be defeated in the end. Jia Yan shook his head. From the information he had gathered, the fighting in this war zone should have escalated recently. There was a fierce battle here before, but relying on the so-called spiritual advantage, the city was still able to hold on, and it could hold on for hundreds of years. Unfortunately, there are several masters among the enemy. If there are no other back UPS or variables, the city's defeat will only be a matter of time. Oh no! Variables are coming. Jia Yan smiled. It must not be easy to blend into the city. Jia Yan sensed that the city's mental defense formation was comprehensive, not only in the subspace field, but also in the gravitational wave system. They had to suffer many losses before finally achieving such perfection. It's not that he can't force his way through with strength, but that would definitely alert the enemy, and it would be a bit unsightly to cause hostility among those he visits in the city. So he thought about it. Then become the so-called variable. Bear. The city with a radius of more than 100 kilometers in the mountains and forests is wrapped in spiritual power. The state of this kind of mental power is like a spider's web, with various filamentous structures, and there are quite neat rules in these structures. Once one place breaks, other places will quickly be replenished. However, as the war reached its later stages, the number of high-level spiritual power users in the city became less and less. The vast majority of them were either exhausted or died from exhaustion, while some suffered irreversible brain injuries and had no time to recover. So the defense became more and more difficult. I have been defending Ming Cheng for hundreds of years, and are we going to fall at this moment? What does it say above? Why haven't strong men come to help? Haha, there is a different answer, saying that strong men are being deployed. I guess the interests here in Ming Cheng are not big, so the higher UPS don't pay attention at all. Even if Master Ming is here, they won't rescue him. Master Ming's ability is comparable to that of an army. God knows if some people are jealous of the Master, so they deceive the saint. This is what to do. Boom. Under the sky, there is turmoil. 100-kilometer-long spiritual defense network is impossible simply by relying on a few domain lord-level powerhouses. In fact, there are not only experts above the star level below who have been mobilized to support the mental defense network, but also many people with only star-level strength. Anyone who thinks that his mental power is extraordinary can take over. Everyone in the city is united. Everyone knows that if other similar cities surrender, at most the top brass will die. But their Ming city has been able to withstand the enemy's troops for hundreds of years. You must know that although the lifespan of a strong man is extremely long, 100 years of fighting for one city is definitely long enough. If they take the city, they will definitely massacre it. Therefore, ordinary people also rose up to resist, and those with spiritual talents used spiritual support. Those who do not have mental talent can deliver food and water, and they can also escort the secret spiritual medicine. Some young people even go to the supplies department, pick up the supplies and run away. The quartermaster does not even ask them where they got them and whether they are stolen. Military supplies. They believe that those young people must have been sent to the front line. It's rare to see such an impressive city. The enemy generals who besieged the city knew that the city was about to be destroyed in an instant. They gathered together with serious expressions on their faces. Although I really want to say that you are praising the enemy, which is a crime of collaborating with the enemy. However, you are talking about Ming Chen, but I have nothing to say, and I even have to express my approval for your words. This Ming Chen is really difficult to defeat. Fortunately, we are going to win it. Several Domain Lord level characters, as well as senior Domain Lord level characters, all sighed. Their eyes were fixed on the Ming city that was about to be destroyed, witnessing the final appearance of this historical city. Just when these powerful men were concentrating one by one, suddenly someone raised his eyes and looked in a certain direction. Who? The others' hearts skipped a beat and they quickly looked in the direction the strong man was looking. They all know that the strong man is the top one among them, and his talent is mental power. Because this person has super mental power and unique perception ability, he was arranged to come to the Ming Cheng front. Help the troops on this front to solve the ringworm disease in Ming Cheng. And this person solved it very well, otherwise it would be really difficult for Ming Cheng to get rid of it today. So he looked in the direction, maybe someone was really coming. But why? Didn't they even feel it? Don't be nervous, there's no point in being nervous. A tender and childish voice came. But, they will be nervous even if they know it's useless. Another children's voice sounded. You don't understand. It's for their own good to tell them not to be nervous. Otherwise, those who can live longer will die soon. That's right, I know, Baba. In the area where a certain kind of master was hidden, the voice of a little girl who responded fluently came from the area, causing discomfort to several Domain Lord level masters in this space. Pretend to be a ghost. It's just an existence that doesn't even reach the Domain Lord, and you still want to show off. The two territory lords looked at each other, and one of them had quick eyes and quick hands, and directly launched an energy blast towards the area. However, a scene happened that made all of them look ugly. I saw the energy impact disintegrating directly in mid-air without even the slightest reaction. You know, this is the attack power of a Domain Lord level. Although it is just a tentative act at the Domain Lord level, and its strength is indistinguishable, it is difficult for at least ordinary galaxy beginners to accept it. Is this person coming at the Domain Lord level? Or are you talking about Senior Domain Master? If a Territory Lord comes, it is good to say that there are so many Territory Lords present. In fact, most of them are just relaxing when they attack Ming City. When a Territory Lord came, they easily resisted it. But if the person who comes is a Senior Domain Lord, he will be at the same level as the one with the highest combat power in their army. The two sides will be in a stalemate, and a Senior Domain Lord can change the outcome of the war on this front. Your Excellency, there is no need to hide your head and show your tail. It's better to show up. The hidden child's voice in the space sounded again. Yo, it sounds so ugly, as if we are hiding it on purpose. In fact, you can't force us to show up at all. That's right, it's really useless, Xiao is better than them. Xiao, has anyone told you that bragging is not good? Baba, Sister Aditha, why can't Xiao understand what you are saying? In the shallow layer of subspace, Jia Yan couldn't help laughing. These two little ones are already quite good at playing tricks. I don't know how to learn from it. Definitely not with myself. Yes and no. Anyway, he doesn't admit it. Since you all want to see Jia so much, but Jia Yan is disrespectful, I'll just wait and see you. Puff. When the group of besiegers were confused, uneasy, and a little eager to try, a huge gap opened in the subspace, and out of it walked out 3 living beings, 1 large and 2 small, who looked completely different from the same race. And the difference in strength is too big. One is a small starry sky level, one is a star level, and the other is unfathomable. You know, dragons don't live with snakes. The difference in strength between the 3 guys is so big that they can actually come together. It's a strange thing. Of course, no one present cared about such strange news. They just care. Find out who these 3 major visitors are and what their purpose is. The 2 small ones were automatically ignored. This, Your Excellency, who are you? Why do you come to this battlefield in Mingcheng? A sheep-headed creature flew out of the enemy formation, came to Jia Yan, and asked slowly. His expression was calm and composed. Because Jia Yan did not release too much momentum, he thought that he, a senior domain master, could not compare with the opponent's strength no matter what. Oh, senior domain master, your strength is quite good. Jia Yan smiled and nodded, but then did not answer directly. But Gu Jing said calmly, that's right, the purpose of my coming here is not to target the troops you are waiting for, but... When he said the word but, the whole atmosphere became tense. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3043. It seems that any slightest movement can trigger the attack of this group of domain lord level powerhouses. Jia Yan didn't care about them and said to himself, but the person I am looking for is in the center of your encirclement. I wonder if you can make it easier for me to go down and have a chat with him. If the person does not meet my certain requirements, I will not stop at these requests and will not cause any trouble to you and others. Humph. What a clever way to break in. Haha, this is the first time I have heard such lame words to break through in all my years on the battlefield. Tell me, are you and the other 3 strong men sent by the enemy to support you? It's best to arrest them directly while there are only 3 of them. At best, he's just the master of the deep resource domain. If we swarm him, we'll definitely be able to capture him. On the battlefield, there was a moment of imminence. The senior domain master, on the other hand, looked more solemn. He stopped his impulsive subordinates and looked at Jia Yan. My friend, can you tell us about the person you want to see? If it is an insignificant person in Ming City, we will not only allow you to enter it, but we can even let you take it away from here. It is also considered as our power. A gift for meeting you as a good friend. Jia Yan was quite surprised that such a senior domain master would offer such good conditions when he believed that his own strength was at best similar to that of his opponent. You know, if you are a strong supporter, enter the Ming City, and add a senior domain master power to Ming City out of thin air. If you use it in the defensive mental power formation, it will definitely make the formation more powerful. If it is stronger, the enemy troops from the outside may not be able to attack it. Tisk, tisk, as expected, the commander is the commander. Your talent and ambition are beyond the reach of others. My friend has given me a reward. How about it? Do you accept my proposal? The commander of the senior domain lord listened to the surprised inquiries and even malicious curses from several colleagues in the brainwave transmission, but he simply ignored them. After all, now is when Ming City is about to be destroyed. At such an important moment, he really doesn't want to cause trouble. A senior domain lord who arrived here inexplicably is enough to cause trouble. He was prepared to eliminate all possibilities. Even if he went to hunt down the senior domain lord later, he was not willing to establish such a strong man again at this moment of war. Jia Yan shook his head. He can hear those domain lord level brainwave power transmissions. Although the strong men present have their own knowledge of spiritual power, the gap in real strength is too big. In the face of real strength, all the bells and whistles are useless. But they were discussing whether the commander's behavior was a bit too cowardly, as if he was betraying his own power. However, Jia Yan is far from satisfied with this. Sorry, everyone, your proposal I reject, Jia Yan said slowly. But this statement immediately stirred up waves. Reject. We thought it was a good idea, but he actually dared to refuse. It's better to just kill this person on the spot. Such an ungrateful being will definitely fall towards the city if he enters. All the field masters present suddenly felt that their faces had been greatly humiliated. You know, about half of them didn't agree with the commander's suggestion just now. They are so powerful, why should they be afraid of a domain lord who just arrived? Maybe, this domain lord level is the existence that comes to support. Isn't it a normal operation for them to take advantage of their numerical advantage to kill them? Unexpectedly, those who disagreed thought that the other party would definitely go with the flow and sneak into the city. Unexpectedly, this guy started shaking. Reject. Brother, are you really strong, or are you just pretending to be strong? Can't see the situation clearly? These beings were already filled with righteous indignation, and now they directly added fuel to the fire. One or two of them seemed to want to directly attack Jia Yan. Stop. The commander's expression became even more solemn. In fact, his vision is more powerful than that of other colleagues. Senior territory lord level, even if they can't understand the basics of the later territory lord levels, they can actually understand a lot of things about aura. Jia Yan is one of those strong people who doesn't have a deep foundation. There is nothing we can do about this, and it takes time to accumulate. Otherwise, judging from his spirit and various details, it will always be possible to see that he is far beyond the average domain lord level existence. Therefore, the commander would rather offend his subordinates than let this strong man come to wade into the muddy waters of their fight. Unexpectedly, the master directly refused the proposal. He was also furious. However, my heart felt more chilled. In front of so many domain lord level experts, he said such bold words. The other party is either a fool, or a top-notch strong person, the kind who can stand firm and fear nothing. A strong man that even he, the senior domain master, couldn't see through. Mighty. Thinking of this, he frowned and trembled. You must know that for ordinary domain lords, the word almighty, whether true almighty or fake almighty, is a legendary existence. On the South Star, there are many strong people. There are far more people who have cultivated to the domain lord level than the outside world. It's just that the higher you get to territory lord, the harder it is to practice. On the contrary, at this level, the difficulty of cultivation for Southern Star is far more difficult than the outside world by several times or even hundreds of times. There is no way, there are few outside powerful people, who have cultivated to the domain lord level. All of them are experienced in hundreds of battles, their minds are absolutely firm, and they are also on the same path. As for the Southern Stars, there are many characters who have reached the territory lord level and lived in confusion, bowing to the strong and showing off their power to the weak. This is why, after they have cultivated to the level of territory lords who need a will, promotion is far more difficult than in the outside world. Reason. Therefore, for senior domain masters, fake great power is also an existence that is elusive and out of reach. Although there is only one last step left, sometimes this last step is extremely difficult. Not to mention really powerful. That simply belongs to a god, an existence that can easily kill a senior domain lord with one hand. Your Excellency, we have already made a lot of concessions. Please don't go your own way and arouse our hostility. I'm afraid it will be difficult for you and the two children behind you to survive. The commander bit the bullet and spoke threatening words. He hoped that the strong man understood the meaning of his words. Just retreat and there won't be any trouble between the two parties. Jia Yan looked at the commander with a half smile. It seems that you have recognized my true strength. In other words, do you regard him as a false great power? No matter whether he is a fake powerful person or a real powerful person, this senior domain master with insufficient background cannot recognize him. It's nothing more than a move. Jia Yan shook his head. Forget it, just wait. I'll go over and tell the city. If there's no one I want, I'll leave. Jia Yan's retreat made the commander happy. Regardless of the unreasonable opinions of some of his subordinates, he bent down and let Jia Yan walk to the front of the city formation. Just such an inconspicuous action caused the many domain lord level experts behind him to become silent for an instant. You know, their leader commander has reached the senior domain lord level. And an existence that can make even a senior domain lord bend down. For a moment, the domain masters who had been arrogant and domineering just now and said they wanted to kill Jia Yan felt their breathing stagnant. They actually threatened a person who was suspected of being a powerful person. This is a bit too exciting. Fortunately, there are also powerful people in our own power. It is said that they are far more powerful than ordinary people. They may even be the legendary true powerful. Several of them looked at each other and felt confident. Jia Yan didn't care about how many of them there were, and let the two of them follow him step by step. Otherwise, if they are attacked by the domain lord behind them, and there are too many of them, even Jia Yan may not be able to protect them both if they are not checked for a moment. In short, he led Edisha and Xiao Yu to the front of the city's spiritual formation. Who is your excellency? As early as when Jia Yan had a dispute with this group of domain lords, and the combat operations on the entire battlefield came to a halt due to his arrival, the people inside the formation had already discovered their small and large team. Although he was acting suspiciously, he actually helped the city. The city's already shaky state suddenly became stable. I am here to visit a friend I have never met before. I wonder if the famous master of formation medicine is in Ming City. Jia Yan's calm voice spread into the city. Inside Ming Cheng, there was some commotion as Jia Yan's voice spread throughout the city. To know. The prestige of the master of formation medicine in Ming City is indeed unparalleled. If it weren't for this person, the entire Ming Cheng would have fallen long ago. Of course, if it falls from the beginning, I am afraid that the enemy forces in Ming Cheng and the outside world will not go to the extent of slaughtering the city. At most, they will change their appearance. Some of the strong will die, and the other people will still be under the new master. Live your own life. But, there is no if. Maybe it was really captured, and some strong man suddenly decided to massacre the city. Therefore, there were not so many thoughts of regret, and the whole Ming Cheng, because of the great reputation of the formation doctor, and Ming Cheng's strong defense, had been heard by cities millions of kilometers away. This team doctor is the biggest star in Ming Cheng. Now, a top expert who saved them from danger came to visit the array doctor master. Please wait a moment. I'm going to ask Master Array Doctor if he is willing to see you. Opposite the formation was a strong man at the beginning of the galaxy. It's not that there aren't more powerful beings in the whole city, but the 2 or 3 territory lords are already working hard on the operation of the formation. Not to mention that they don't have the energy to meet Jia Yan again, just say they left their stronghold, and the enemies outside took the opportunity to start fighting again, which might be the time when Ming City was destroyed. No need to tell me, I'll show up right now. Suddenly there was a sound in the city. He is not like Jia Yan, who is extremely domineering and spreads his voice to every corner. Instead, it was extremely soft and only resounded in this small area. It made people feel refreshed and even their mental fatigue was slightly relieved. He is indeed a strong man in terms of spiritual power. There was a glint in Jia Yan's eyes. There is definitely nothing wrong in finding this stranger by yourself. Not mentioning whether he has any chance to learn from it, just talking about mental problems. In fact, Jia Yan is most worried about what will happen to Satsuma Kono and his family. By then, if your lifespan is extended and your spirit cannot bear it, it will be equal to 0. After all, there should be no one in the Orion arm who could perform such a thorough genetic modification surgery for the creatures in the Orion arm. I have met this gentleman. I wonder why he wants to see me by name. The Master of Medicine was already at the Domain Lord level in terms of strength, but because he was too old to calculate, his realm was shaky and on the decline. He is an old turtle. Jia Yan has seen many turtle-like strong men in his life, but he has never seen one so similar to a real turtle. Editha was so happy that she pointed at the old turtle and laughed. She is a child anyway, so no one should care. As for Xiao Yuer, when he saw Editha smiling, he didn't know why. He was infected by the laughter and laughed happily. From time to time, he sillily asked, hee, sister, hee, you, hee, what are you laughing at, yeah. Ha ha ha. Really like a big turtle. Jia Yan looked at Edisha, causing her to stop this impolite behavior. The other party didn't seem to care, and there was an extremely old look in his eyes. I'm afraid that he had experienced too many things in his life, which caused him to not pay much attention to many issues. This is a true old-timer. Jia Yan believed that this big turtle might be older than the guys he had seen in the ruling hall before. It could be tens of thousands of years old, or even more. I have met the Master of Formation Medicine. I would like to ask the Master of Formation Medicine to diagnose and treat the patient. Jia Yan doesn't mince words. When he reaches his level of strength, he can talk a lot and don't need to avoid anything. If others want to listen, let them listen. If someone wants to cause damage, or if someone is planning to use some crooked idea, then beat him until he no longer dares to have any ideas, or make the other person's ideas disappear completely. When you become stronger, sometimes you can really do whatever you want. The other party was stunned. It's not that he was surprised that Jia Yan came to see him for a consultation or something. But I was surprised. This big shot looked very powerful, but he communicated with me normally in front of so many people, without fear of his purpose being overheard. Maybe, this is the strong one. He sighed. In his life, he has seen too many powerful people who are not very strong. He can only remember the number of times he has actually seen top beings. He has never seen such a being in front of hundreds of millions of living beings. The situation is explained. Completely ignoring everyone else. It's not impossible, it's just my current situation. The Master of Array Medicine sighed bitterly. Jia Yan understood what he meant. The Formation Doctor Master and Ming Chen behind him were both blocked. It might be easy for Jia Yan to pick up someone else, but if he wants to pick up this Master of Spiritual Formation who is famous all over the world, oh no, at least famous in this area, it won't be that simple.